Hello! How are we all doing? Oh, I'm waiting for the thumbs up. Would you say that the dry run went okay? Because if the dry run goes okay, the show's usually a complete catastrophe. I forgot certain things, so let's say that. You can hear me. Fabulous. Hello, one and all. So many of you in the chat. And I saw a video. Well, actually, I didn't. I'm lying. I saw that Jonathan had posted a video and I didn't have a chance to see it. Oh, agonising. But yes, if you are in Slack, go and view Jonathan's video and put a like on it. Right, let me make that a bit bigger. Do we have anybody new I need to say hello to? Let's see how much notice Mike's paying, how much attention he's giving you. Oh, hello anyway to everyone. We've got Joho, we've got Kim, we've got Renee, Deb, Peter.
I was paying lots of attention.
Were you really?
Yes.
I'll believe it.
No, I was looking in the chat to see if there was anyone new.
And Deb is with us. There's one Deb. We only need the other two now. Hello, Richard. Who else have we got in there? Jonathan! Young Jonathan! How's the toy? I've saved that to enjoy myself with later.
Needlework tips. I know she's not new. That's Carol under a different name.
That's Carol in Incognito.
Yes.
Incognito Carol, that was. I was looking for Carol in the captain's table today, but I didn't see you. There was an imposter in there. There was another Carol. Luckily, I twigged before I said hello. Right. Hello, Mrs. Yarnold. And have I missed anybody? If I have, shout at me. I think I'm done. And if you oh, hello, Dale. Where's Jammy? Not present and correct.
Jammy will be late. He's always late.
It's this keep fit.
He'll probably remember about
got.
10:30.
He will. Yes, that'll. No, because I've just posted my Ship 30 essay, so that'll remind him. That will remind him. Yes, I got that out the door with about 30 seconds to go, but I can't fail now. It's day 28. So it's 29 and then 30 on Saturday and the Sunday, and then I can have a rest.
I'll go and ping him in Slack.
Go wake him up. And if you are with us, but you are not in the chat, hello to you as well. And if you're watching later, hello. So what have we got planned for tonight? Well, what I've got planned and what actually happens are usually two different things, but never mind. Right, let's make sure that you can see that first. So I'm moving things. You can. Well, it's telling me you can. Doesn't mean you can, obviously. So we've got the week at MacBites headquarters. Then we've got a Raycast update. I know we said we were done with Raycast, but I've got two little things to show you that are rather cute. One practical, one just, I've been doing it all week, entertaining myself, but not terribly practical. Well, it could be practical. It depends. So you'll find out. Then we've got the Serif Affinity version 2 upgrade freebies, which came out last Friday, but there's an issue with them. Who has downloaded them? Give me a yes, I've downloaded. And then supplemental question to those who have you installed them yet?
I've installed one of them.
Yeah, but you know why I'm asking that question, so keep stum, Mike. I want to know, one, who has downloaded them, two, who has installed them. Let me know. Then we're doing Valentine's Day in Affinity Publisher. That's proved to be interesting today. Then we've got freebies. We do have some freebies that are quite useful freebies that I may do a demo on in the future. They are that good. And then we've got part 4 of Obsidian, where we're looking at backlinks with a practical approach. A seriously practical approach to that. So don't run away screaming. Backlinks are fabulous. Now, we are broadcasting in 1080p. Are you receiving in 1080p? I watched the best part of a true crime documentary this week, thinking it was just old, when they served it up to me at 360. And then for the last bit, I realised it was actually in 4K. I was grumpy. I was very grumpy. So let me know. Right, while you are down there, cog, lower right-hand corner, there is a like button. You could hit the like button. We like that. So what happened last Saturday? The year's racing away. It's February already. Last Saturday, important day. FA Cup day. Did you expect them to win?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they did, which was quite amazing. I did think there was a chance that they may pull it back more than they did, but United won and got through to the next round. Tesco surpassed themselves. There was nothing catastrophic missing last week, was there?
I don't think there was.
No, No, very surprising. But what they've taken to doing is, what they were doing was letting you order stuff and then just not delivering it. Now they're not even letting you order it. So that was why they covered themselves in glory. You can all do that if you set the bar really low. But Sunday, I spent the entirety of Sunday. In fact, I wasn't too good on Sunday, was I? Wasn't that well. But I did spend the entirety of Sunday waiting for 9 o'clock. Can't believe at this stage there's only 2 episodes left. But now there's only 1 episode left. But it was Happy Valley. The week before, I thought there was a bit of a plot hole. But this week, oh, yes, they cover themselves in glory this week. Mike and I just sat there, open mouthed. There's 1 episode left, but they have added 10 minutes to it. So it's 70 minutes instead of 60. So I'm excited for that this Saturday. Now, Saturday, we were going to do the Burns night thing, but something, was it the match or something? But we decided, yes, the match was on late, wasn't it? Wasn't it an 8 o'clock kickoff?
It was.
So we decided it wasn't the day to be doing the Burns night supper. So we did it on Monday instead. So I insist that you share the glory of it with me. That is the haggis, the neeps and the tatties, expertly prepared by Mike. Will admit it was a bit of a rush job, because we needed to watch the One show. If you're in the UK, you're thinking, what is she on? Because the One shows... what's the best word to describe the One show? Tripe. In fact, complete tripe. It's like a gossip column in a newspaper, but video. But they had the live FA Cup draw.
Richard says don't say what happened. He's not watched Happy Valley yet.
Never any spoilers here. Never. I wouldn't even give you a spoiler for Series 1. Just go watch it. No spoilers whatsoever. Well, they had the draw. And I was saying to you, wasn't I? Because you were on a comfort break and had missed the beginning of the draw. We're usually either first out of the bag or last out of the bag. And we were watching the teams go down. And there was us and our neighbours, Manchester City, left. And it was like, not another derby. No. It all turned out we've drawn West Ham. But at least we've drawn West Ham at home, which saves a trip to London. So whilst I was contemplating the next round of the FA Cup, I thought, I'll just update this machine, I thought. Now, this is not a big update to Ventura. I'm obviously not that brave yet. This was, and I quote, a tiny point update. Now, there is a reason why there is a Ventura machine in the house. It was accidental, but that's a whole different saga. But I thought, well, we'll just do this tiny point update. And the reason I was doing it was so I could reboot the machine. I did not want to reboot the machine twice. And I thought, when it's rebooted, I will then start working on what I actually need to do on this machine. Yeah. 5 hours, 45 minutes later. And that included 3 very hairy, scary forced quits later. Trust me. It was done and I was contemplating taking to drink. Honestly, it said it may take a few minutes and it may reboot twice. I wish it had taken a few minutes. By the time it was done, I was heading to bed. So that takes us nicely on to Tuesday. This is comical.
Could you explain for Rene what a comfort break is?
A comfort break? He was on the toilet. I was being polite. But yes, a comfort break. He mistimed it, given it was FA Cup draw.
Trick.
It was a toilet trick. But, yes. West Ham's not bad at home. It would have been better if it was Derby. And it was Derby-West Ham that night. So although we had the draw, we were drawn against 2 teams because they were still playing and it was the winner of those that we would have played against. But comfort break boy missed the beginning. So Tuesday. Mike may giggle with this because he has been privy to all of this. I love reading. And I listen to an audiobook every day. Sometimes more than one, the speed I listen. This morning I pressed play and I'd had it on 1 speed. And I thought I'd had a stroke listening to it. It was appalling. And then I realised this was a book I was listening to at 3.5 times. So once I got it to 3.5 times, I was there. I was happy. But Tuesday, I'd been attempting to read a book to say I was bored rigid with this book, and I was grumpy with it as well, wasn't I? And I kept saying to Mike, when was this thing written? Oh, it was bad. So I want you to tell me in the chat, have you read this book? Because this book has been recommended by so many people on YouTube, you name it. Any influencer's like, oh, you've got to read this book. It is called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. I finally finished it on Tuesday, for which Mike is incredibly grateful.
Yeah.
It's possibly the most infuriating book I've ever had the misfortune to decide to read. My reaction was so bad, Mike actually said, just a general question here, out of thin air. Have you ever stopped reading a book because you're not enjoying it? Which I think was your polite way of saying, please go and burn that book. But I made it to the end. Who's seen? So let me know in the chat if you've read that book.
Carol says she started it but gave up.
Oh, Carol, bin it. It's terrible. I don't ever like saying that about a book, but it's not dated well. It was actually written, I discovered this in one of my I'm bored rigid moments. Let me go look at something else. I thought, when was this book written? And I had to do the maths with it because he's talking about this book having been written 15 years earlier. But this version of the book is not in 2022 or 2023. So I'm trying to do the maths of it of, well, when was this one written? And then I'll work out when the original was written. It turned out it was 1986. There were people on this call not born in 1986. It didn't age well. Carol, leave it alone. If you need to read this book, go get the short form version.
Kim doesn't care for the title, so wouldn't even bother.
Well, I must admit, I thought being called E-Myth, there's another book. You remember that guy that we met at London in the Convocation Ball?
Yeah.
The one who'd written a book.
Yeah.
Got a bit handy, that fella. When I say he got a bit handy, he did. Got a bit handy with my mother. Not me, with my mother. Oh, she kicked him that hard he couldn't sit down for the rest of the night. Yeah, don't take my mother on. Him. I think his book was called The E something. So it wasn't a book that screamed to me businesses. But it stands for entrepreneurial. But stick with Carol. No, don't bother. Don't bother. So although I finished it, Mike was very grateful when I'd finished it. So how many of you have read it? Or is it just Carol?
Just Carol. Rich has come up with a couple of good books.
Go on.
Turn the Ship Around.
Oh, that's a good one.
And Never Wrestle with Pigs.
Oh, yes. I like the title of that one. Yeah, I'll probably go for that one. But I won't be revisiting that one. Let's put it like that. So Wednesday, after I'd stopped reading that, I decided to treat myself after that and not listen to a business book. So I'm now listening to one called The Rule, I think. What's it called? Where is it? Liverpool, usually based in Liverpool. I think the author's Liverpudlian. Let's have a look what it's called. But it's a thriller. The Rule, it's called. Now, what's his name? Something Jackson. David Jackson, The Rule. That's enjoyable. I'm enjoying that one. So Wednesday. Wednesday was Carabao Cup night. For those who have been with us before, that's the tin pot. The one that nobody really cares about. Unless you're not doing well in all the other competitions, and then you care about it. The only other reason to care about it is what, Mike?
1992.
1992. Now, back in 1992, the Carabao Cup was not called the Carabao Cup. It was called the Rumbelows Cup. Who remembers Rumbelows? They were a chain of TV outlets, and they sponsored the cup. And the reason that 1992 was worth going to the Tin Pot Cup was that was where Mike and I...
got together.
Would you say got together?
Got together.
Got together. Yes, he invited me to go with him, and I did. The team came home with a cup, and I came home with him. So it was all. We've got a soft spot for the Tin Pot. I didn't realise, Mike, when we played this match, the first leg of this match, that it was a two-legged affair. I thought we were through. We won the first match 3-0 and we won this one 2-0. But I thought they played better than the 5-0 scoreline would indicate. I thought they didn't do bad.
Richard remembers Rumbelows. They were bought by Comet and he worked for them.
Oh, wow. I'd forgotten they were bought by Comet, and then they went under, didn't they? Yeah. Before it was called the Rumbelows Cup, it was called the Milk Cup. So it's had lots of names over the years. Thursday, I very nearly forgot this. In fact, I was expecting it in January, but it was the Apple earnings call. And we usually have fun with the Apple earnings call. We've actually got like a boilerplate text in MacBites. Best quarter ever. So I sat and I listened, and it was more... it was less that and more that. So for the first time since Tim Cook was in short pants, everything went down. So not good. Which took us on to Friday. Oh, I haven't actually said if it's okay to mention this, so I'm going to have to assume it is, Mike. It's something to do with you. Is that all right?
I can't see, but never mind.
It's all right. It's not. It's not a page 3 or anything.
I'll tip exit out here if I don't like it.
It's been a busy day. We've had lots of technical things to do because somebody, drum roll please, has a starring role in the Global Excel Summit next week. So if you're going, somebody has got some sessions, haven't you?
Yes.
There you go. So that was fine to share. Excellent. Who's going? Let me know. Right. Okay. Oh, Renee says I was the all-time winner. You're quite right, Renee. Although having said that, I feel that Mike got the better of the deal. Do you remember what happened that day? It's burnt on your brain, isn't it? All of it. We weren't even sat together because Mike got his ticket about 4 days before I did. But we weren't that far apart, were we?
No.
So you could look longingly and wave.
Yes.
Well, I sat with 2 guys from Rochdale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who were drunk as a skunk.
Who were drunk as a skunk. Yeah. How did I know they were as drunk as a skunk? One of them said to me, well, garbled to me, I can see 3 Peter Schmeichels, who was our goalkeeper at the time. I do hope one of them catches the ball. That's how drunk he was. Oh, what a day that was. So, Raycast, there's been an update. It's quite a big update in terms of what they've added. So let me know in the chat, have you tried Raycast now? Have you switched to it? I've switched to it. Mike's still in not quite configured it mode.
I mean, I used it before.
There you go then.
I used it to work out how many dollars there were to the pound about 20
See, I knew that one would get
ago.
you. That and the football, I knew.
I haven't used it for the football.
Oh, my GC, you know the football before they know the football, don't you? What was that thing I sent you overnight? Oh, the thing from the Sun. Yeah. About, yes, let's not go there. Go take off air. So, update. Right, they've added deep links. Deep links are really useful. So I've put something together in Obsidian to show you how you can leverage these deep links in Raycast from other applications. And when we've done that, we will celebrate. So let's head off and have a look at that. So obviously, Raycast is available here by opening it up, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is accessing Raycast functionality from elsewhere without using Raycast. So, I do need Obsidian, which is over there. So what I've done here is, this is a demonstration we'll be using later, but what I've done is I have put together what a daily page would look like for me. I have navigation for previous days. I have the week navigation. I usually have the date and the day, and then I have some stuff in. So like it's day 28 of ship 30. Right, so what we're looking at down at the bottom, my daily page is usually quite long and it's got all the things in that I've made notes about. So that's why I've put in here. So what I've done at the end is say daily wrap up. So that's just a heading. And these two are external links. You can tell they're external links because they've got the little arrow on them. So it would look like that if I did this. If I went in there and said Elaine Giles blog, and I grab hold of it and I do Command and K, it wraps square brackets round the text that you want to see, and it gives you round brackets to put around the URL. That automatically adds the arrow at the end, and if I click on it, that's exactly where it will go. So let's separate these out. It's opened it up there. I don't want it there. There we go. So I've clicked in, it's opened it up in a browser. Now, that's only one use for these external links. So these are the two. We know if we go to Raycast and we do my schedule, and we open it, it shows you your schedule. So you can see I was prepping Obsidian at 1 o'clock in the morning. Then there was the CWH weekly review. Then I did the Captain's Table Mastermind. Now we're in the middle of this. Mike's prepping for the summit, and there's other stuff on over the weekend. So that's the My Schedule thing in there. So coming out of that, what this enables you to do is from within anywhere that you can put a link, you can actually click that. And instead of activating Raycast and remembering what to type, it will take you straight there. And that is what a deep link is. So what the deep link looks like in here is it starts with the word Raycast, ://. So just like if you were to put in https://, that is a web link. And another one is file : //, which links to local files. This activates Raycast, and then the rest of it is the fact that it's an extension or a command or whatever it is. Raycast, calendar, my schedule. Now, obviously, you would need to know what that was to be able to put it in there and activate it. So, to do that, you need to go into Raycast. And if we did the My Schedule thing, and then we do Command and K, in all of the available options in here, you now have Copy Deep Link, which is Command Shift C. That will copy that, and it will put it on your clipboard. And then when you go in anywhere that you need that, you paste that in. Now, obviously, it needs to be in a link and you need to have some text, but that is how you copy the deep link itself. So let's get rid of those, because these were the two that I had. So at the end of my day, I wanted to use this one to check my schedule for today and maybe for tomorrow, and then celebrate the end of my day. Oh, I could just sit here for hours with it. I know, it's sad, isn't it? It's gorgeous. Right, that is a feature that has been in Raycast since the first day I looked at it. But it felt odd to actually have to type in here. I think it's confetti. Yeah. That should work better than that. Confetti. There you go. Doing it like that, you know what's coming. But having it on a link to celebrate the end of your day, I thought, now that makes sense. So I did exactly the same to create that one. I've typed the word celebrate, and the deep link to copy for that was just Raycast : //confetti. And again, how you would actually do that is to go in here and start to type it, Command and K, and if you actually just type the word deep, it will filter that, highlight it, and you can just press enter to copy it. And it works with anything. So if you wanted to make a quick link, or maybe like a set of things that you wanted it to do, you could just do what I've done, only add your own to it. So who's tried the confetti? Who's going to try the confetti now they know about it? Two tiny things, but I thought they were kind of cute. So now you are aware of them. And I think it is good to celebrate the end of the day, especially if it's been a good day. If you've had a really good day, that's the time to celebrate. Right, do we have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, we will go on with the next thing then. Right. Oh, yes. This'll be fun. Why aren't you moving? That's right, play with my mind. Why aren't you moving? You don't want to move, do you not? You are moving. I'm not having it. Right, when Serif released version 2, people were grumpy. People were grumpy who had bought it, not long before and felt that they had to pay again. People were also grumpy who'd had it for years and years that they weren't treated any more special than somebody who bought it last week. So, Serif listened and they promised that they would release some upgrade freebies that were only available if you had version 1 and you upgraded. A bit of confusion at the time because they then released some stuff that was free, but that wasn't it. They have now released the official upgrade stuff. I think I put the link in there, Mike. If I did, can you share it? If not, can you find it? So they're calling it the Creative Collection, and it's a collection of 4 different items. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to know how many of you have downloaded it and how many of you have installed it. So how many said they downloaded it, Mike? Or were you not paying any attention at all?
I was about 4 or 5.
And how many have installed it?
A couple.
Oh, have you installed all of it?
Peter's installed the fonts and Renee's installed it.
Well,
Debbie S installed it but hasn't played with it.
It starts off with some very nice icons, which they are assuring us are in asset collections. And so I think the idea behind that is get you used to the features of the app as well. In addition to the icons, we have the Splat illustration kit. I mean, who doesn't want a Splat illustration kit? Which enables you to do things like that, although, you know, you'd need to be able to draw. So that's what they are about. There is also 3 very detailed guides on how to actually use them. So they're from Frank and Toon, which you've probably heard of. And they are available, some of them for photo and some for photo and designer. There is also a salt and pepper LUT pack that is available. Now, so far, everything's okay, because these are simple to work with. But it got more complicated when it came to the fonts. And there's actually quite a few people very grumpy about the fonts. If you look carefully at these fonts, if you look at the icon, you think, well, they're fonts, aren't they? So that's fine. But if you look carefully, they are not standard fonts. They are AF fonts, which mean they only work in the Affinity apps. Now, Microsoft do that. They have cloud-based fonts that only work in Office, but you can't use them in something else like Scrivener. And people get grumpy with that. People getting grumpy with this because they were struggling to install it. Sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't. Eventually, Serif said, yeah, we've made a mistake. There are issues trying to install these. So we will go off and have a look what the issues are. The biggest issue is with a lot of these items that you acquire from the Affinity store, you can install them through the application. You go into File New, you jump into the store, all your purchases are listed and you install them from there. You won't find these fonts. They will fix it, but they couldn't fix it in time to release the fix in version 2.0.4. So it will be fixed in the future. Doesn't mean you can't use them, you just need to know how to use them. And because it's basically broken, there are different ways to deal with it, whether you are on Mac or Windows. So let's go have a look. Who's come across these issues? There were no instructions for a start. Put them in the font folder, it said. Which one, said I, because there's more than one font folder. But we will go and we will look at... Yeah, there we go. Up we go. Right, there is a font folder. So if you go to View on the Mac, hold the Option key down, you will see Library. Don't hold the Option key down, won't see Library. So click on the library, and in there, how did I have these sorted? By size. Let's do it the right way. And I have fonts. And when I go into here, what we're looking at is all the fonts that I have installed, 579 of them. So these are user fonts. These are not system fonts, come with the system. These are all fonts that I have installed. But if you look at them, you will see they are either TTF fonts, true type fonts, or OTF, open type fonts. They are not AF fonts. And if you dump your AF fonts into this folder, won't do you any good at all. It just won't work. So what do you need to do to install them? Let's go open Affinity Publisher, because the instructions were working for Windows and they were not working for Mac. So the official way, really, there's like 3 levels to this. 1, be nice to install it from the store, wouldn't it? But that's not working. 2, be nice to install them a proper way, which is File and Import Content. So you toddle off to import content, and it has a think about it. And I've got it in here. Upgrade freebies, fonts. No, they're the icons. Don't go in the wrong folder. There we go. Publication. And there they are. There are all the fonts. Okay. Oh, how do you find the store on the iPad? You can't see the downloads. You have to go back to the home bit where you see all your files. And I think it's at the top. Let me have a look. What's the betting this iPad's dead? Oh, no, it's not. Right, let's see where that is. It's from the home thingy somewhere. No, don't start moaning. Yep, it is. If you go to the live docs, in the top left-hand corner, you've got the application icon. If you tap on the application icon, you get import content from there, which takes you to your stuff and the store. Where's the store gone? Anybody know where the store is? Oh, now the iPad's died. Can you have a look while I sort this out? That's how you import the content anyway. You can get to the store from there. I just don't use it. So, Renee says you double-clicked them and it worked perfectly. Well, that might do, but that's not the official way of doing it. One is to take it from the store. Two is to do the import content. So if I just take, let's have Icky Guy. Let's take the first Icky Guy. Right. And I open it. It says importing content, and technically speaking, that should work. How would you know if that had worked? Well, you would need to put some text on there. Icky Guy. And then go and find the font in here. And it's installed. No, actually, I had them installed. I had that one installed. I don't know whether that would have worked or not, but that's what is the official way of doing it. For most people on a Mac, it's not worked. And so the unofficial way of doing it, which is the recommended way at the moment, because there's no other way, is to know where they are stored on your file system. So we bring the Finder back to the front. Too many items in there. It's behind here. There it is. Right, that's your official font folder. But if you do the same thing again, so you go to Go, hold the Option key down, go to Library. This time we're not looking for the font folder. We are looking for the Application Support folder. So go into Application Support. You then have Affinity Designer, Designer 2. I've got the beta, but never mind. Photo, Photo 2, Publisher and Publisher 2. So obviously I'm looking to install them into Publisher 2. And so if I double click on that, you can see in here, let me fold all of those up, that you are deep in the system of this, so be careful. But there is a folder called Affinity Fonts. And if you open that up, they need to go in here. So you can see it's installed the Icky Guy ones. I've got the others to install. So let me find the others in my other Finder window, which is here. Right, so we're looking at these and these. We are not looking for the Icky Guy one. So I've organised everything. I put all the files in there. Let's get them listed. Select everything and then deselect the Icky Guy. Come on. Right, select those. Select those. And I'm going to drag that off screen, but all I'm going to do is drag them in here. While it has a rare roll, think about it and install them. And now they should be installed. So we'll have a look for Pancakes. Pancakes wasn't there before, it is now. So let's go into Publisher and bring back the window. There's Icky Guy, I only know it's going to be Pancakes. So Pancakes. Good to know this, even if it did install, because when you need to troubleshoot, which doubtless you will, you'll know where everything is. So there's Pancakes. Now, will it be available or not? And no, it's not. And the reason it's not is it reads that in at the point that it starts. So if you install a font afterwards into the Affinity Fonts folder, it won't appear until you restart the app. If you were to install a standard font in the standard fonts folder, it appears automatically. So that is something they could do with having a look at, isn't it? So I will save this as fonts so we can go back into it. Fonts, close it down, restart it, and then we'll try the pancake thing again. So open it up. Since they're in the publisher folder, would they work in Designer and Photo? That depends on how they've got that configured. We will have a look at that. I wouldn't expect it to. I would not expect it to be honest with you. There are things that do, but it's a bit random. Right, so in the recent, let's have a look. There we go. Are you thinking of opening that? You are. Jolly good. Right. So grab that. And up here, we're looking for pancakes. And now we have pancakes at the bottom and we can apply it. So on Windows, it works with the file import content. On the Mac, that is randomly working, but more importantly, randomly not working. So the workaround is, for this at the moment, if you need to, do it the manual way that I've done it by just dragging and dropping it into the right place. I wouldn't drag and drop the files in there and not have some kind of backup, however, because it is on your system. It's not anywhere centralised, it's on your system, so you need to back them up. So back them up elsewhere as well. Eventually they will fix this and it will be available from your account. And I would love to show you how to install something from your account. But I noticed the other day when I was looking at it that there's a unique code in the corner that looks remarkably like my serial number. which yeah, not putting on YouTube. So it would be good if that disappeared. It's some kind of unique reference and I'm not sure if it's a serial number or not. But that is how you install those. So if you've had problems with it, that's what you need to do. Eventually, they have promised you will be able to install them from the store. Right. Renee says, I wonder what the advantage of AF fonts are over the general fonts. I don't think there is an advantage, Renee. It's just a way that those fonts are only available in the Affinity apps. So if you wanted to take your content somewhere else or do some development of a project in another app, you're not going to be able to because they are Affinity only fonts. So I think it's just a proprietary way for them to control the distribution of those fonts. To use them, you would have to have their applications. That is the sole reason. As I say, Office do the same. It's so annoying because you think when a font, I mean, if somebody else had installed these, you come along, you start working with them, you assume that if a font is installed on the machine, it'll work in any app, and no, it doesn't. Which is why when you look at certain applications, so certain, I think Pages is one, you have access to Apple fonts that are not available to other apps. So a lot of companies do that. Having said that, a lot don't bother. I mean, it's an overhead to think about. But if you are selling these things through a store, it's one way of controlling the distribution because they're useless to anybody who doesn't use an Affinity app. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Deb says, I was thinking the same question as Renee. Will the fonts only work with Publisher?
I would expect the fonts to work with all of the Affinity apps. I have checked the location and every Affinity app has an Affinity fonts folder. Initially, they are all blank. So it isn't that they ship anything special with it. It's just blank. It's there for you to put stuff into. Let's have a look if they are available. I wouldn't expect them to be, but you never know. They could thrill me, couldn't they? Right, let's put in there Pancake. And let's make that much bigger. And go and see if Pancake is available in Designer. No, I wouldn't expect it to be. What you would need to do for that is to go through the process again. So you've got File, Import Content, which may or may not work. But we are here looking for the last line of defence. So I'm showing you what to do in a calamity that you can't get anything working, which is you need on... This is on Mac. Windows is a different location, but I will share that with you on a slide when we've done this. But this is Publisher, this is Photo, and this is Designer. So if I open up Designer 2, there is my Affinity Fonts folder at the top, and I haven't got anything in there. And that is why they are not appearing in there. But that's my other font folder, isn't it? Where's my fonts? Where have my fonts disappeared to? Oh, that's interesting. Right, never mind. We will open up that in another tab, and here's the freebies. There's the fonts, and there's the fonts. So I would just grab all of these, and you should be screaming. You should be screaming if you've thought this through. But I will copy those and I will go into here, and I'm now putting them into Designer. So I've copied them and I'm pasting them into Designer. You should be screaming because, you know, SSDs these days, if you want to upgrade from a 1 to a 2, it's going to cost you a kidney. Why do I have to install these fonts 3 times? They're taking up 3 times the disk space. So on a device where you've maybe got a 256 or even a 128 SSD, you're going to be grumpy. They add up. And well, we'll do photo shortly. Let's get rid of that. Let's bring Designer back. Did I close Designer? Are you coming back? There we go. There's Designer. So I will save that. Why is everything going incredibly slowly? Fonts. Right, and close that. Because I need to reboot between installing them. So let's get it open, hopefully on the right screen, fingers crossed. Splash screen's on the other one, but you know, fingers crossed. If it ever wants to do anything. Okay, and go to the recent files, open that up, select the thing, and they should all be available. So Pancake was one, that is now available there. And if I do another one, which is the Ikigai one, that should be there as well. And because I've installed more than one Ikigai font, it's only listed once, but you can see in here that you do have access to all the different variants of it. So if I wanted the medium one or one of the italic ones, you can apply that from there. One thing I did do this week, don't know if you all know about this, I put it on a Ship 30 post, was when you're working with fonts, you know, I mean, you've seen I've got 600 of my own installed. So this list gets old fast. There are ways that you can make it much, much easier. And so, for instance, I think I did this in Publisher. But when you click on this next to the fonts here, so if you look at this area here, that bit, about there, nothing helpful, just interface. But as soon as you click that, you get all, recent, used, and favourites. It's so hidden that you don't see it unless you've activated the fonts. If you go to recent, you will see the recent fonts you've used, and they are actually quite correct. So that is a much faster way of not getting cognitive overload and finding the font you're looking for. Used shows you the fonts that are used in this document. So that's even better. You know, if you want to apply the same font throughout your document, if you just click on the drop down and then click on used, it's pre-filtered for you for just what's in this document. Favourites is fabulous because I use BD Cartoon a lot. Myriad Pro is the MacBites font, and I use Trajan Pro a lot. So what I've done with these is I've favourited them. So how I did that was from the all, if all of a sudden I need Angry Birds for whatever reason, I just click the heart next to it, and then I can go to the favourites, and it's one of 4 fonts that I'm using. And if I've finished using Angry Birds, I can click that again. When I move away and move back, it's disappeared. So favourites is something that you could make work for you, either by using your brand fonts or the fonts you use a lot, or you could use it just for a particular document or a series of documents. If you're working in a single document and you've already used the font, then it will be listed in there. So you can see Ikigai's being applied to that. Let's duplicate that and apply a different font. So seeing as though it says Pancake, let's put Pancake on. Right, in here, we need Pancake in there. Right, apply that. Then if I click to add another one up here, and I don't particularly want it to be Pancake, I can go back in there, I can click what's used, and you can see I've got Pancake and I've got Ikigai. So it keeps that up to date, which is great. I love that. So that is something that's available in all 3 of the apps. Not something that they talk about a lot, but very useful, and the more fonts you install, the more useful it is. So, have we got any questions about that?
Mrs. Arnold says, great tip. I never noticed that before. Is that new in version 2, or have I always just missed it?
Just missed it. It's easy to miss. It really is easy to miss. I think it would be lovely if you could lock that on. Because, you're bringing it up by going up here and clicking there, and you've already got cognitive overload. Although that has remembered it, hasn't it? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And the other thing is that it's per app, which could be good if you're using, one set of fonts in Designer and then you want to favourite a different set, then that will be useful, I guess. One trick that you could do is keep it on fonts that are in use in this document. And in your document, now obviously I'm in Designer at the minute and I'm talking about Publisher, but if you're in Publisher and you would like a standard set of fonts, create a master page and just put your fonts on it. You don't have to use a master page. So if I'm putting notes in about what I've done and why I've done it and a change log for a document, I started doing that years ago with the church newsletter. So inside the church newsletter, there is a page, a master page, and all it is the changes log, and it goes back to 2015. So if all of a sudden it's like, why is that over there? It's like, well, 3 years ago in February, you said, and that's why I did it. So I do that. But what you could do with this is put the fonts in there, and then as soon as you activate that document, the in-use fonts will be pre-filtered to what you actually want to use in a document. And if you put that page in a template, then you're set to go as soon as you've created the document.
Question.
Okay.
Are the Affinity fonts available as PDF files?
I don't think a PDF was included. Let's have a look what was included with it. Back we come. Don't fly around. Were you in there? No, that's fonts, isn't it? And they're Affinity fonts. Here we are. Right, so what came with it? There was a guide to installing, which was just, I PDF'd it, but that was just a web page, and it's the same web page no matter what. And this is what talks you through how to install them via the interface when that doesn't actually work. But that's the installation document. This was the agreement, and they were the fonts. So no, I don't see them available. What you could do is to create a publisher file and then change the font in it. And remember, you can do that. So if you designed your own layout to make a PDF of, you can do it with a find and replace. If you used an advanced find and replace, you can actually have like a standard one with Arial and then do a find and replace where you replace Arial with a particular font and it will automatically do it. Or you could do it with a style and you could change the font in the style. And then you would only need one template to create a PDF of the font. But no, they don't. They don't. Oh, Mrs. Yarnold's taken with that one. Be using it all the time. Okay. Renee, I've got 1,200 fonts installed. We'll never find them back. If you've got the fonts installed in the fonts folder, in the user fonts folder, that is something you can actually back up. But, I find when people say, I'm going to nuke my machine, and I'll say, have you backed up? Oh, yeah, I backed up my data and I'm like, no. Have you backed up the minutiae you will forget that will annoy you and take you ages to rebuild? Have you backed that up? And that includes the fonts. It also includes user-defined dictionaries. When you work through, imagine I've had this machine sat here now for 2 and a bit years. I've added words to the custom dictionary. I've added branded words, I've added UK spellings, I've added all kinds of things to the dictionary. It would make me very grumpy to have a new machine and it not recognise all of that. That's one of the things that you can back up. So you could create an automatic backup that backs up once a day and have it back up multiple locations, and the fonts could be one of them. And now the Affinity fonts folder as well. So in here, library application support, let's have a look. It wasn't under dictionary. It was weird. Was it under spelling? Can you remember where the dictionaries were, Mike? I do have them backing up, but I'm wondering if they are actually in here now or if they've moved. It's not under dictionary. I know it's not under dictionary, which is ludicrous. But it's in one of these folders. It's in one of these hidden little folders here. So, I mean, you could back all of this up, but I tend to be a bit more granular than that. But yes, make sure that you back them up. Do what I do, which is on Dropbox in application support, I have a folder for each application. And sometimes, like the Obsidian one, I've got my year folders, I've got other things, but it could be data or it could be configurations. And sometimes I actually separate them and put the two. Do I have fonts in there? No, I don't. I don't have the fonts in there because I have the fonts backed up totally separately. But in the Affinity apps, instead of backing them up to the individual folders and creating a folder in there called Affinity Fonts, why use the bandwidth? You know, why do it 3 times? What I would do is go into the Affinity apps, and in here you can see I have a fonts folder. And in there I would put the fonts I need for Affinity. So these were fonts I wanted to transfer to the iPad. But now I would probably add to that and I would put Affinity fonts. And that way they are available. Now do remember, if what you're doing with these fonts is you're trying to get them on the iPad, do not do that through Dropbox. It doesn't end well. Not only does the app crash, the entire iPad dies a sad death and you need to reboot it. So what I would do as well as that is in iCloud, I have Affinity apps. In there I have fonts, so I would just add another one and I would do it via iCloud. I wouldn't expect it to sync, obviously. But, you know, every now and then it does. So I would create that in here. Because this is purely for transferring things to the iPad easily. But you'll see at the top, I have a shortcut that says Affinity apps. And when I click that, it goes to Dropbox, which is my primary cloud. Sometimes I even have stuff, and this would be historic. This is where it was before we took Dropbox on, in my drive. So in my drive, I have application support, and in there I have the Affinity assets, and I have a folder for each one. And there's probably stuff in there. But that's just historic. It's a matter of sorting it out. But as you know, I have Para installed implemented on every drive. And it's just, I might have something historic in the wrong place for now. Or like I would want it if I was on a desktop in Dropbox. But if I'm on an iPad, it's not going to work unless it's in iCloud. So then I put it in there. But I know it's only going to be in one of 3 places. It's either in iCloud, it's in Dropbox, or it's in Google Drive. Simple as that. And it's not just a random folder in those locations. It's always the same. It's the source, application support, Affinity Publisher, or Affinity Assets, or whatever. So any questions about that?
No.
Are we done with that? Awesome. Right. And we got I make PDF files, Affinity Publisher, if I understand correctly, Affinity fonts are not embedded in the file, which means a person who opens the PDF will see something different. They could well be. That's a good point. Having said that, I've not tried it. And the way that a font is embedded in PDF, it can't usually be extracted too easily and like back installed. So maybe the PDF would look okay. I'd have to test it, and I haven't done yet. If somebody would like to test that while we're live, feel free and let us all know. Okay. Obviously, one option, depending on what it is, if this font is what you want, and you've done a PDF, shall we do a PDF and find out? I'll have to uninstall it. Oh, actually, no. Maybe not. Tell you what, let's try it. Let's try it. So what we're going to do, we're not going to do that. Come on. We are going to go there and do this. So I'm going to do an artboard export to PDF. Let's go for digital high quality. There we go. In fact, I don't actually know if that's going to embed the fonts, isn't it? Shall we try for print, which definitely will. Press ready shouldn't it? Let's have a look what that's going to do. So let's have a look at the press ready one. What is it going to do? And are you going to embed the fonts? Have I took? There we go. Subset the fonts. Let's embed it, not subset it. That should embed the font totally. I'm assuming you know the difference between the two. Embedding the font will embed the entire font. Embedding a subset will embed only the characters that have been used. So let's do that and create this PDF and see what it looks like when we're done. Let's put that on the desktop so it's easy to see. It didn't take that long, did it? Right. Should be 3 fonts. Having a think about that as well. Right, looks okay in there. That is Acrobat. So in Acrobat, I can even select it. So it does look like it has actually done it. Obviously, I've got those fonts installed, but I would have assumed Acrobat would not know where they were because they're not in a font folder. So it's not particularly looking in the right place for them, but it's there. If you have problems with it, I guess the only other alternative, let's go back to Designer, would be to take this content and rasterize it or detext it. So make it an image, basically. If you're going to do that, duplicate it first. And then you can delete that and you've got an editable copy to go back to that's the right scale, size and location. But it looks like it's all right. I guess even if you extracted, even if you could extract that AF font, you wouldn't be able to use it unless you had one of the Affinity apps. I don't think they're concerned about people ripping it off wholesale. I think it's just to dissuade people slightly. I would say it's more that. Let's put it like that anyway. Right, okay, if we have no more questions about that, I will close that and move on. So, must call for questions on that. Right, so if you're on a Mac, this is where they need to go. Macintosh HD, users, username. Now, my username was Elaine G. Yours will be whatever yours is. Library, which you can see in the Finder if you hold the Option key down to click it. Application support, Publisher 2, Affinity fonts. The photo one is exactly the same, but it's photo 2. The designer one, exactly the same, but it's designer 2. And the one on Windows, I've just done the one slide for Windows. And thank you to Mike for loaning me his shiny new Windows 11 box to find it. But you'll find it at /users, your username, .affinity. Now you can see the .affinity folder. You wouldn't be able to see that on a Mac because anything with a dot is hidden. But on Windows, you can see the Affinity folder. Within that, you then have Publisher. Within that, you will probably have 1.0 and 2.0. And within that, you have the Affinity fonts. If you want them in Designer or you want them in Photo, you need to switch out the Publisher entry, 3 lines up, for Photo or Designer. And that is how you install them on Windows. Okay, so we got any questions now on that?
No.
Hello, Patience. Everyone's saying hello to Patience. Right, okay then. Let's move on to Valentine's Day in Affinity Publisher. So, we already have a photo book template. It was one of our giveaways pre-Christmas in our Advent thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take something that was not built for Valentine's Day and Valentines it. So, if you've already got the template, feel free to follow along. If not, that is where you need to go. And I've got a QR code on the next slide, but it's elainegiles.com/affinity-publisher-photo-book-template. So it's not exactly a plain template. It's got a little bit of colour in it, but the idea was when I created it that it's a general purpose photo book template. So if you are already subscribed to my list, you will not be added twice, you will not be spammed, you can just download and get the template. If you are not on the list, you will get a follow-up mail that asks you to confirm if you want to join the list. Right, what you will get in there is what I am about to show you, which is it's a zip file, and as it says there are 32 pages in it. It does not have master pages, that's something we're going to create today. And the middle point that it's completely customizable is incredibly important, because if it wasn't immediately and completely customizable, we wouldn't be able to turn it into a Valentine's book. But we will. So don't forget you can get that and follow along if you would like to. So let me get rid of all these font folders. Now I've got fonts installed all over the place. And let's get back to the data for tonight. Right, so what I've got in here, this is what I have downloaded. So it says the vanilla photo book template. Now, that's what I downloaded. I double-clicked it and I got this. In there, you will find 2 of these. One that's compatible with version 1 and one that's compatible with version 2. I think the version 2 one is actually going to prompt you. But we will see. So these are, they're not template files, they are standard files. They are standard files for a reason. And that is that you can make a template out of them if you would like to. But if you're starting off from pages, you can ditch the ones that you wouldn't want as masters. So let's have a look at what we've got in there. So I will open that up, version 2, and this is what we've got. Are you remembering this? This was basically, as I was designing it, I was thinking about a wedding album. So there already is a heart in it, actually. But that's what I was thinking about when I was designing it. But as I've said, all of these layouts that we've got in here, they're on 2 spreads. 2-page spreads, but all of the layouts are completely repurposable for anything else. So the fact I put a kind of palish pink in there, it was just something to put on the page. There we go. Oh, Carol's using it for a wildlife photos. Nothing wrong with that. A bird can live in a heart. There's nothing wrong with that. There you go. We don't get many birds in our garden, do we? Apart from that, there was about 3 or 4 that landed on the roof. Only common stuff, nothing as fancy as Carol's, that sat watching us while we ate. It put me right off.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was quite intimidating, wasn't it? I think it was, you say it was a pigeon?
I thought it was a magpie.
It looked mean, so we left it alone. Carol's a bird whisperer, not me. I just stand there wafting at it, telling it to go away. Do you remember that one that had a go at Maya? Yeah, that was a big mistake on the bird's part with me.
Swans.
Oh, yes, that one, I'd forgotten that. We were at Mike's flat and we took him round for a walk around this pond and there were some little ducklings and its mother. She was not pleased to see Maya. Maya just wanted to play with the babies. Her, less so. Nearly took his arm off, didn't she? Oh, she like spanned her wings open and it was like 8 foot wide. Yeah, it worried me, never mind the dog. So that's what we've got in here. We've got placeholder text, we've got placeholder images, all kinds of stuff. But we could do with making these pages so they are more Valentine's friendly, but they're a starting point. So that was the whole point of having the template. It was a starting point. So let's pick one of these and make it even more Valentine's. In fact, we could start a new one, couldn't we? So we've got a custom one. Or maybe I would put this one on the cover, because the cover at the moment is just one single image. So if I've got some images that I want to work with, and I think I had a couple. Where were you? Oh, I put them in here. That's right. Yeah, what I did was I created a layout. Thus. And that should be on page 1 as well. There we go. That's page 1 version. So what I was looking to do with this was actually put this image inside it, but some of these are on top and some of them are behind. You've got that one sandwiched between the two, and make it easy to change the image. So instead of starting completely from scratch like I've done with that template, with this you could make a Valentine's template and then fill in the images as you go along. Right, so that's what we're looking towards for how we do that on here. So first of all, I don't think you would need just the image. Where are my images for that? Where have you disappeared to? You're just not there, are you? That's annoying. Never mind. Right, if I wanted to put in there, I want to test images to see what they look like. But it's a Valentine's one, so I think a full image across that, no, we don't want a full image. So I could either hide that or I could actually delete it. But what I've got here is a layout with all of the margins and columns to work with. But what I need, before we go any further, is the actual Valentine's layout, which is here. So what I did for the background there, that was just a standard background. So if I copy that, I can pop that into here. Oh, come on. You know you can do it. Right. Now, obviously, wrong shape, but it doesn't matter because this is a fill. So if I take that up to the edge of the bleed and up to the top of where the bleed is and pull that out over here, I've got a background to work with. So how that started, never going to know which of these is which now, am I? That's not good. Oh, hang on, it's down here. Right, what I'll do is I will give you a link to where I got these from, and they are available. I think they're free as PNGs. So let me know with this link, is this free for you as a PNG? Let's try that. So who's going to get that first and let me know if that's free for you as a PNG? It will be watermarked. I'm working with the Photoshop file for this. So I will show you what that looks like. So we've got Valentine's Day love balloon. Come on, where's the love balloon? Oh, I wonder which of these is which. I've got two of them. We will open them and we will find out. Not that one. So hopefully it's this one. There we go. So what this actually looked like was this. So in the PNG, I'm expecting the PNG to look like that. You would have quite a job to do to change that if it was a PNG, but you could work with it. So I'll show you that. That is a Photoshop file. So I will open it with Publisher and show you what you get. That's what that looks like. So obviously the font isn't installed, which is what this message is telling me. And it will let me go and find it and install it if that's what I want. But I don't actually need it. So who's downloaded it yet as a PNG? It says free PNG, it must be free. Well, I like your thinking, Renee, but that doesn't always hold true, does it? Right, what I would do with this is, I didn't need any of this text, so I was just in the business of getting rid of any of that. This is obviously the branding, and I've got a pro account, so I can get rid of that as well. And I've downloaded a license for it. So the rest of this in here is just what I need, including this background, which I've already taken through. So these bits here, the rest of it, I would probably put them in a group and I would copy them and I would then take them into a photo book template. Right, so I'm in here and I want to put that bit on the top. Obviously I want it somewhere towards the middle here, like that. Now remember here, I may want this layout. At the moment, I'm on the cover, but I may decide I like this layout so much I would like it on the other pages as well. Now, I want to get a photo in there. So, for demonstration purposes, did I know where am I to put it? Let's try that. Are you there? It's like a seance, isn't it? No, I tell you what I'll do. I will get some sample images from Pixabay. So I'm using Raycast to search Pixabay for couple on a beach. That has opened up in my browser. I will show you my browser. Let's have them with some clothes on, shall we? Are there any with clothes on? That one's not too bad. Let's take that one. And that one walking along will be nice as well. Right, so these are just sample images, obviously. I will download that and download that. Don't really need them much bigger than that. For this, obviously, use the best quality you can get a hold of. But for these, all I want to do is be able to put an image in there. Now, obviously, you don't want it to look like that. You could put it behind it, but you still have problems with that because there's a nice drop shadow in here and all kinds of stuff going on. But what I decided to do was in this group, which is the frame, and I'm just going to toggle off everything so you can just concentrate on the imagery. I wasn't keen on this drop shadow too far away from this white box. And I actually thought the white box, I could do with the white box containing the image itself. So rather than juggle around with what I already had on there, I thought, right, let's open up this. And here is the white box. And there's an effect on that. So always check what you've got on here, and it's an outer shadow. And I thought, that's what's setting it so far away. So I changed the offset. So you can just see it disappearing in here. So the beauty of this kind of imagery is, as opposed to a PDF, a PNG, I can actually edit it much more easily than I could edit a PNG. Doesn't mean you couldn't create this inside Affinity Publisher. You could, but it would take you some time. And it's nice, even though this is a Photoshop file, or it started life in Photoshop, that all of the layers are available for editing and all of the effects work as well. So that's the first thing that I did with it. Then I thought to myself, right, I could do with putting in here, to make it easier, a frame. So I'm drawing out a placeholder, an image placeholder. And if you are wondering why my image placeholder, it's not quite lined up, but it'll do, doesn't have any indication it's an image placeholder, is because I've just done the Control and W, which has turned off all of the detritus that we don't particularly need to see. But it is an image placeholder. Right, that's important because we know that I've got an image on here. So if I bring this back, one option with this image of the couple is to crop it to fit it. But you can't actually see behind it. So you'd be moving it and then trying to line it up and moving it again and actually cropping it. And I have seen people do that, but you don't need to. So you have this picture frame in here. If you drag the image, now it does make a difference whether you drag it above, below, on the image, the thumbnail, or on the name of it. And look what happens when you put that on the name of it. So as I'm moving it, you can see where it's going to put it, but put it on the name and it goes inside it. So it's pre-cropped for you. But that doesn't mean that it's not editable. You can double click that, and I'll toggle this on so you can see it all. You can move this thing around, but you're moving it inside that frame. I actually want that to be bigger. We'll have them bigger, and we'll have them about there, just off center. But still a problem with it, and that is the frame is behind it. And that's when you start juggling the layers and bringing that above it. And now it looks perfect. So if I take the Control and W approach and do that, you can see now that some of this is above it, some of it is below it, and so forth, and it looks great. This bit here, however, that heart with the lips on it, if I toggle my picture off, you can see it's actually inside the frame, but it looks like maybe it should be above the image. So I need to work out which one that is, which I think, no, it's not that one. Where are you? Is it that one? No, it's not. Why don't I just select it? Right, it's that one there. So if I want that above the image, but behind the frame, then all I need to do is start dragging it about. So above the image, but behind the frame, and then toggle my image on, and now it's above it. I just think that looks really nice. I like the fact as well that you've got the shadow on the inset of that. Now, what you can do with that now it's got our image in it, that's the cover. Quite happy with that for the cover. But you could make a page that you're going to turn into a master page with it. So, how to do that? Right, I'm going to go down here and I'm just going to duplicate that one. Remember, at this point, these are just pages. These are not master pages. Not master pages for a reason. But I'm going to potentially want a master page where I can apply it to a page anywhere in my document and have this business going on. So it looks like that. So how to do that? Well, I'm not going to need some of these things unless I choose to have them included. So I'm going to get rid of these. This one actually has captions underneath it as well, so I'm going to get rid of the captions while we're at it. But the layout, other than that, I'm leaving alone because I know that it matches. And then what I'm doing in here, and although I'm doing this with this particular image, it makes no difference. I would start with the background and apply the background to it. But don't just copy and paste like I've done, because you can see it doesn't match up with the bleed on the left-hand side. And it probably goes over it there. But this side should be fine if I paste it in. So if I paste that in over there, we've now got the backgrounds. Right, I'm going to go back to this page. I would take the time and name things properly. You can see in here that we've got all kinds of naming things going on, because English isn't their first language on the site, put it like that. Right, but I'm going to take that group and I'm going to put that on this page. Hopefully it's not going... I'll save this just in case. Right, let's put that on there and put that on there. Now, I probably wouldn't want this laid out where I've got a double page with that on both sides. But the reason that I'm creating this like this is I'll actually end up deleting the page, but before I delete it, I will have created a master from it. So probably in here, instead of having the image, I would lose the image. I just need the placeholder. So I'm going to take the image out. That does not delete or change the order or anything else of anything else in there. All it does, it leaves the picture frame. If I delete that bit, it would delete the frame. But if I drill down into it and just delete the image itself, then there's the picture frame. Right, I could at that point, because this is going to be a template, and I don't want anything else changing, I just need them to be able to add something to the picture frame, I could actually lock all the other bits, which isn't a bad idea. So let's grab all of those and lock them. And repeat the process over there. Although in reality, I would probably have done that first. Right, let's get all of those and lock those. Right, so I should be able to add the images in as and when I want to. So I've got a layout here. So I could use, I've done this ad hoc on one page. If I want a page that looks like that somewhere else, maybe with the story of how we met, which would have been at the Tin Pot, wouldn't it, Mike? Mm-hmm. Got together at the Tin Pot. Can you find a picture of the Rumbelows Cup? That must be in a museum somewhere by now. Then you need to turn these into master pages. So if we look at what we've got in here, absolutely nothing. This master page is applied to it, but it's all the admin-y stuff. It's all these layouts and stuff. It's nothing else. So in here, you can add pages. You can even duplicate these. So if you don't want to create master pages, you can just duplicate these. Obviously, it's better practice to create a master page. But it's up to you if you just want to duplicate. You can also delete them and so forth and add, you can apply masters. Now, applying masters from here is important if you are nesting masters, which was the subject of today's Ship 30 essay. Not read it yet, you need to go read it. Okay. Right, so what I would be looking to do with that, add pages from file. No, that wasn't what I was looking to do with it at all. Can we just drag that in there? Oh, you're not going to do it, are you? I'll add those later. Right, let's get on to the next one. So if you haven't got, like I've got here, these beautiful images, what can you do without them? So in here, you do have shapes. Mike, you were talking about the tier shape, weren't you? You were calling it the tier tool, unaware that it morphs. Unaware that which one is shown is the last one that you used. So the heart tool's right down the bottom. It's not actually the last one in there. I know it looks like it is. But if you hold the option key down, the cat is actually the last one in there. And who wouldn't want a cat in their Valentine's book? But if you don't hold the option key down, then the heart is the last one. Right, so there's the heart tool, which was how I did this. So even though this isn't a placeholder, right, let's have that bit like that, I think. It's not a picture placeholder at the moment. It can be turned into one. So you would right click on that and you would convert to picture frame, which automatically puts the cross in it. But that isn't particularly what we want if what we want is something like this. So some other stuff that I've got that would work well, even if it is just PNGs, I need to go and find which one now, don't I? Crying out loud. Oh, it was that one. Right, let's go and find that. I will put the link in for you so you can go download it. This one would work fine just as a PNG. And now I've lost you. I don't know where the chat's gone. Where's the chat gone? Oh, there you are. You're on the other side. You've disappeared. You're on the right, now you're on the left. Right. Oh, Renee says it is free. Well, here's another one. That one is even more useful. I will show you how you can take this one and kind of make something like that out of it, even if you don't have access to the editable one. But go download that one. Right, which is Red Heart Valentine. So let's go find it. So I am unzipping it. I don't know what format it's in. Oh, the excitement. We'll find out what format it's in. I wish things would unzip the first time I click them, not the 27th. Right, is this the right one? It is, there it is. It's an Illustrator file, but you can open the Illustrator file directly in any of the Affinity apps. You do not need Illustrator to open it, which is just as well, because I loathe Illustrator. Absolutely loathe it. Always have. It's a really powerful app. I just don't get on with it. Right, so I'm going to open that. Oh, that's not good at all, is it? There's me saying how fabulous it is and it won't open at all. Oh dear. You may be better off with the PDF. The PNG, sorry. You know what I'm going to have to do, don't you? I'm going to have to open it in Illustrator. Luckily, I have Illustrator. Your mileage may vary. Who's got access to Illustrator? I doubt many people have got access to Illustrator. Oh, do you know what it's doing now? It's trying to open it in Affinity Designer 1. And it's not doing any better in there with the format. Yeah, I know all about that. Let's just open it in Illustrator and be flaming well done with it. Right, Illustrator. Illustrator isn't even listed. But I know it's there. I pay through the nose for it, so I know it's there. Come on, Illustrator. It's strange that if it was in Photoshop, all of the effects come through and they're actually editable as well. Whereas Illustrator, no. It's obviously more proprietary. I should make more of an effort with Illustrator, I should. We've just not got on. I think it was because I was a CorelDRAW user and Illustrator's very different. And it's taking so long to open the thing, I'm fast losing the will to live with it as well. Come on, Illustrator. You know, you can do it. We've got the splash screen. I would say we're almost there. It's a rather dodgy splash screen, actually. I have no idea what that is. Oh, gosh, this is reminding me of what it was like opening Photoshop back in the day.
Or opening Affinity.
Yeah, just talk amongst yourselves while it has a think about it. Oh, come on. There we go. It was worth it, wasn't it? It's pretty. It's pretty. Okay, the reason that's not come through is it's a grid, isn't it? It's a grid. So can I copy it and paste it in? That would be nice. If not, I'm going to be very grumpy. Right, let's see if I can do that. No, it doesn't want to know. Fabulous. Right, so what would I have to do? Illustrator. What would I have to do to that to be able to use it? Come on, guys. Oh, Carol says I do. I wonder what that's about. Oh, you should definitely know. I need to export it in a fine format that would work. So let's do a rather Dutch splash. It was a bit dodgy, Renee. It had what looked like yellow rubber on it. So yes, I think so. Well worked out there. Right, exports for screen or export as. Let's do an export as, and shall we make it a PDF? This is a lot of messing, isn't it? Right, let's stick it in the root of there. Right. No, let's have it more than that. Let's have it lovely. Let's see if that works. What a performance. Right. Let's try again. And it's Is that the same file? He's done it as a PNG, but you know what? I'm beyond caring now. So we'll just drag that in. We'll put that on there. It was well dodgy, Renee, I'm telling you. If I can get it to open on the main screen later, remind me. And I'll share the love, as it were. Right, I think you're there. Excellent. So, if you've not got Illustrator, but you do have a Pro account, you're not using it anyway. That's not good news, unless you can find a way to convert it. But there you have it. So that doesn't look unlike these. So you could use that. The other thing you could do is go in here and put your heart in, like I suggested. And then you could format that yourself. So if you wanted to put a colour on it, turn off the backgrounds here. And then you've got options in here. So you can add things like an inner glow. So let's put that on it. You probably have to really up the intensity on these. And what else have we got? Inner shadows. Basically play around with it. Add everything you need on there. You've also got features like the warp. So this one should work nicely. If we soften that and add it, and there's a pillow emboss, you can also change that to emboss, which lifts it up. You can do that on the outer edge, or you can do that on the inner edge. Now, obviously, you are not, with these features, going to get something that's quite as nice as that. But you can certainly play around with it. So that's why I've started with these that are like pre-configured. But I have converted them into a publisher version of it, which means the rest of this is locked, and now I can just drag and drop images in as and when I like. So I did have more images that I've literally just downloaded, the ones you saw me download, which were the couple on the beach. That's the other one. So let's take them and add them to that, which was everything was locked on there, apart from that picture frame where we can stick this. So when you drag an image in, drag it in onto the canvas. If you drag it outside of the canvas, so even that half a centimetre makes a massive difference. If you drag it into there, out of the way, it opens in its own window, which you don't want because you want to place it in the file. We're not even looking for that one, are we? We are looking for this one. So when you drag and drop an image in, drag it onto a working part of the image. Like that, which is down here. Then put it where you need it. So in this case, it disappeared to there, and put it on the text. Now, you can't see that at the moment. Have I put that in the right one? Has it added it over here? There we go. Be in the right one. Right, and in there, you can then work with that. So if you want to move it around, so I've locked everything else. I'd like to make that bigger, like that. But I can work with this image now in complete isolation from the rest of it without being concerned anything there is going to move. Oh, Patience likes the embossing with fairly plain text. You can do nice things with it. You really can. And of course, everything that you do with those effects, you can create a style from. So these are not text styles, these are styles. The ones they give you are a bit weird. But what you can create with them is great of your own. One use for that in Publisher that I really appreciate is I don't like to go into the images and be putting the wrap on them individually. So I actually have some styles that are pre-configured text wraps, and that's all they are. So literally to do something like that, you would go in here and make a new category. Mine are called text wraps. And I just grab one of these like that, put something on it. So let's say I want that 3mm square. And then I apply it to it. So it's applied. And then all I need to do is to go into here and add from selection. Obviously, it doesn't look very interesting, but I can change the name of it to 3mm wrap. And then I'll have a 4mm wrap and a 10mm wrap and all the rest of them. And it's really quick to apply them to all of the others. So literally just that and it's applied. So that's useful as well. But the main purpose of this is to show you that, you know, you can create things like this from existing artwork. I could take parts of this and put it on other pages. So I've locked these because I want that look, and the only part that's left to edit is the frame. This one, I didn't lock it. So in here, I can double click because it's in a group, which you'll see from the layers. I can double click and go into it. So what I can do for the rest of this is use parts of this image throughout the rest of it. So I've copied that, go down to another page, put that in and just have it sitting over the top of one of these. And that one I want turned around the other way. The red ones would look even better. So double click to get inside it, copy, move down to one of the other pages, paste that in, and you are adorning as you go. Not only that, in terms of flipping them around, etc., but scaling them as well, rotating them, whatever you need to do. And you've got a kind of synergy now. It's consistency through the thing. So I would use all of these little things. And even these ones, this is why it's important that you've got the editable one. Even though you can't see the rest of that, it is still actually there. Whereas if you tried to extract this from the PNG, there would unfortunately be bits missing with it. But you can see you do get the whole thing here. And I would dot those about however you would like them. So I'm doing this basically from one stock file and just taking the bits and putting them where I want. There were a lot of other things that were available in there. So another adornment was, let me have a look at it. I think it's that one, dividers, which might sound quite strange in that kind of thing. Oh, it's an Illustrator file. We don't like that. But they are dividers. And they'd look great at the top or the bottom. I wouldn't use them to divide the images, but... So first of all, shall we see if it'll open with Publisher without throwing its toys out of the pram? Oh, it's an Illustrator file. Oh, that looks all right. See, this one's fairly simple. This one hasn't got any kind of warp grid thing on it. Right, but the one I thought would look nice at the top was this one. So, copy that. Again, I would make a group of that. But I will put that in, group it, and scoot it down much smaller than that and have that coming in across the top. It doesn't matter if it overhangs the images because the image placeholders are behind it. It will make no difference at all. I will not paste that one in. I will copy that one and paste it because that's the right size. And then add that over there. And I'd probably bother joining them at the top. But something simple like that can make a whole lot of difference with it. What else did I have in here? I had 2 lots of dividers, I think. And it's difficult to work out which is which. Was it that one? Oh, border style, it says. That could be it, couldn't it? Right, let's get to that one. It's another Illustrator file. You're really loving me tonight, aren't you? And I'm not seeing anything on there, so I'm not trusting you. I'm not trusting you. Let's open that one. And that one says nothing at all. Oh, well, let's have a surprise then. It can't be as dodgy as the splash screen, so let's go with it. So open it up in Publisher. There we go. Now with this one, you could either use the whole thing or you could actually take these bits out. So I've got 2 halves of the heart and the bit at the back, and that's all I've copied. And then go into here on another page and paste that in. Obviously it's far too big, but I would group it and scoot the size down and have those hanging in from the top. And of course you could colour code them or anything else. I'm coming in at an angle, but probably straighter with those. Like that. There was one in here that I just have to include if I can find it. It's something Mike says every Valentine's Day. So I'm looking for it. Oh, there's a wedding one, Mike. You ready yet?
Yeah.
Right, I'll try and fit you in. Sunday's out of the question, obviously, because it's Happy Valley on Sunday. Oh, come on, unzip, get on with it. Right, I have another one that I will open, and this one's got to have pride of place for Mike, because he says this all the time. There we go. Oh, it's coated fogra, but I'm not concerned about that. There we go. You see, you do say that, don't you, Mike?
What?
He's 30 seconds
30
behind and
seconds
can't see it yet. I would put that on the back cover of this, I'm telling you.
Yes.
That's going on the back cover. There we go. So I think I'd probably get rid of that and I'd just put that in. Obviously it needs grouping and then it needs scaling, but absolutely perfect. So really, the book, the template that was available was fairly neutral. I think looking at the colours, you were probably thinking wedding, but it could be for anything, like Carol is saying with her birds. With your green on it, Carol, just totally change it. Did I put in a document palette? No, I didn't. I should have put in a document palette and then you could change the pink to green up there. Right, getting there, aren't we? This is huge. There we go. So I would probably have that on the back cover because he says it all the time. There we go. So with about 3 or 4 items from stock, I have totally changed that from a wedding thing into Valentine's Day. So any questions about any of the Happy Valentine? So nicely done, Renee. Do you have any questions about anything that I've mentioned in there? Probably mentioned more than I was expecting to. But now is the time to let me know. Let me know.
No, there are no questions in there.
Do you know, I am actually quite afraid for Sunday night because I'm remembering the end of Line of Duty and they'd built it up to glory. And then when the end came, Twitter went mental and they weren't happy. I could totally see where the writer had come from, but I could also see where they'd come from. They'd been watching this for 12 years. And the end was like, oh, it was him. Really? Oh, Stephen likes that. Excellent, excellent. Okay, then. I will save that in case you've got any questions about it later. I will close that down. And I've got a freebie, and you're going to love the freebie. You are going to love the freebie. Did we save that? No, we won't save that one. Good. Don't complain about anything. Oh, and I get to shut down Illustrator. Shall I try running Illustrator and seeing if I can get that on the right screen? You know, because Renee's going to burst with curiosity if we don't. Right, let's try opening Illustrator and see if it will actually open on this screen. Don't disappoint. There you go. Answers on a postcard or what? It could be a letter. It could be a life jacket. It could be something well dodgy. And well dodgy was the first thing that came to my mind. Seriously. Oh, bye-bye, Illustrator. We don't open you often, do we? Right, let's get rid of that. And into there. Was that dodgy enough for you, Renee? Right, freebies. I know you're going to like these freebies. Kim's quite right. Line of Duty was so much better than the ending. It was. So I'm quite happy to watch all 6 series again and just leave off the last episode. Or actually, you know, just leave off the unveiling and pretend it was somebody else. And that's fine. It works great for me. Right, you are going to love these because who does not have the need at times to change a sky? And it's all very well changing a sky and having the technical know-how to change it, but you could do with the sky that you are going to replace it with. So these are some beautiful skies. So if they match your images, you're in there. You are well in there. So Mike will put the link in for those. Remind me to put the link in the blurb as well, Mike. They're from On One Photo. So you may have seen them. They've been giving them away in January. And they are beautiful sky images. If you want me to do a demonstration of how to change a sky, let me know. I can do that in Affinity Photo if you like. Okay. Weird and dodgy. Yes, that sums it up, doesn't it, Renee? It is a bit weird. And personally, if I'd have had an array of images in front of me and I'd have been at Adobe, it'd be like, no, not that one. If it's all the same with you, not that one. Okay, Obsidian. We are up to part 4. Who's been following along? Let me know who's been following along. And Carol, have we tempted you away from Tana yet? Tana's lovely, but there isn't a mobile version. And I must admit, I thought I liked Rome. And I thought I wasn't overly fussed with Obsidian. But then when I went back and tried Obsidian again, it was like, okay, this is it. So, let me know. Oh, Kim wants a Sky demo. I think I've got just the image. I took it years and years ago in Ireland. It's a place called St. Kevin's Church, if anybody's been. It's gorgeous. And it was drizzling. The sky is appalling. but the picture itself is fabulous. The composition and everything is great. It's just the sky, it was drizzly. So I'll try and dig that one out. Oh, Carol's using both. Is that not confusing? Mind you, I'm using Notion and Obsidian, so no, it's probably not, is it? As long as you know what's where. Okay, so Obsidian. Because it's week 4, let's have a recap. I describe it as an IDE, an integrated development environment for Markdown files. They have guaranteed it will be 100% free forever, so they can't say fairer than that. What we've done so far is downloading and installing, because there is a lot of configuration to it. Then in part 2, we looked at the interface and the core plugins, and in part 3, the community plugins and more. So, week 1, downloading and installing. If you have not downloaded and installed yet, you will find it at obsidian.md/download. Oh, Carol says using Tana for to-dos and projects and Obsidian for Ship 30. That kind of makes sense because I think of Tana as being a little bit more like Notion, whereas Obsidian's more freeform, which was what I didn't like about it at the beginning, but now I do. I appreciate I can have both. Right, at that download page, you will find that it is available for macOS, Windows, Linux, iOS, iPadOS, and Android, which is a huge benefit as far as I'm concerned. I don't use Linux, but it's nice that Mike was able to install it on his Windows machine. And I do have an Android tablet. It's a long story. It would have been rude not to, was the bottom line. It was because it included some Google Drive storage for 2 years, I think. And there was already a discount on it. And then I got a £50 voucher, and it meant that the thing was like about £60. So it was like, it would be rude not to. So I'll take one. And I did. Your Vault is a local folder, which for many, many people is absolutely critical. They do not trust things where your data's in the cloud like Notion, and at times it won't give it you back. The idea of that is that there's no lock-in. Now, to be honest, I took my Roam data and I exported it and I imported it into Obsidian. So there was no lock-in with Roam either. But it's an accusation that's thrown at them quite a lot. But because your data is plain Markdown, you would be able to take it and put it in another system easily. Right, in part 2, we looked at the interface and the core plugins. So out of the box, Obsidian has certain features enabled and certain features disabled, which is quite unusual. You don't open Excel and only have half the functions, or Word and have no indexes. It's just the way it works. So some things are turned on by default, some are turned off. The ones that are turned off are considered to be completely optional, that many, many people would not use. So, for instance, the audio recorder is turned off, but the canvas is turned on. So the canvas is one of their flagship features, so I would expect that. Some things I find not as clear-cut as that. I mean, I would never put audio files in Obsidian. Never. Because it would explode the size of the vault. And I don't want that. I don't even put images in there, as you know, or PDF files. So audio files, I totally get why that's turned off. And I totally understand why the canvas is turned on, because it's a flagship feature. But why are the daily notes turned off? That makes no sense to me. So some of the things make sense, some don't, but they're the core plugins. They are provided by the people who make Obsidian. We then moved on to the community plugins and hacking the life out of them. So we looked at the calendar and the periodic notes. And the calendar, to me, was one of the features. When I was in Rome, you had to click twice to get the calendar. Made me grumpy. And I used to lust after the calendar in Obsidian. So I installed the calendar plugin, which is giving us the calendar in the top right-hand corner. And the periodic notes were the daily notes, the weekly notes, the monthly notes, the quarterly notes, and the annual notes. And that was what we did last week when we created an entire year. And I used 2 apps as helper apps to do that. The first one was a Better Finder rename, which enabled me to rename the files. And when I was working through the process, I thought that's all I need. And then I realised, as I looked at 2024, that there were content in some of the pages that referred to 2023. That was when BBEdit got involved, which is a text editor, and that has a multi-file search. So it enabled me to search all of the files, I think there's about 500 of them, for Y, and change it to the year I was creating. So that was where we left off. So I had a think about this week, and I thought, well, we could do more plugins, but I think it's time to look at backlinks so you understand them. So who uses an app, a notes app or anything else that has got backlinks? And if you do you like them? Do you use them? Is it a must-have feature? Because I think for you, Mike, it's like, oh yeah, the backlinks, I forgot.
Yeah.
Bless him. So whenever he says, oh, I've made some notes. So I do the remote desktop thing and I get to his system. I'm like, yeah. Just a minute. Let me put some backlinks in. So let me know that. Oh, Carol likes the Better Finder Renamer. Better Finder Rename is fabulous. It is. Name Mangler's good as well. And there are times when I would use Name Mangler. I try to stick to a Better Finder Rename because I can make droplets. So they're basically templates and they're easier to manage. So that's why I try and stick to that. But I used this one first, then I used Name Mangler, and then I moved back to this one. But Name Mangler has really good support. So if I've got like a tricky regex to do, I'll probably do it in Name Mangler, and I'll probably get onto support with I'm trying to do this, and this is as far as I've got. So both of them are good, but that's my primary one.
Patience is like me when she remembers.
Patience has been exploring backlinks when I remember how to put them in. Oh, it's easy. It's easy. So we've got a story with this one, so it makes sense. Okay, which I have mentioned because this is genuine. So let me get Evernote up. Where did Evernote go? I love looking across all the screens. Oh, look, Evernote's there, but oh, you are opening. Awesome. Oh, don't tell me there's an update. There's an update. Right, that's the note I'm looking for. So let's put that over there. Is there an update? Is that what you're moaning about? Now it's saying there isn't an update. Never mind. Let's get into Obsidian. Right, so what I'm going to do is, this is a true story. Obviously, names have been changed to protect the guilty, but this is a true story. Right, this is a demo vault. So when this happened, I already had hundreds and hundreds of pages in my vault. But, and I have no idea what date we did this with, so this is going to be fun, isn't it? Did I put it in here? Ah, I remember. That one was real, wasn't it? And then I put some notes in. So, what I've got over here is the demo vault. It's got Para in it, but there were two extra folders. One was the periodic notes, which has got all the years in there. And the other was the inbox, which is where I'm putting things until I filed them away. So that's what we've got. Right, let's say I want to show you this in terms of how it would have happened. So in my resources, I have a folder called Session Notes. And in my Session Notes, I've got this. So I'll open it up. So let's imagine it's 2021. It's the 22nd of May, 2021. And I've made some notes. And that is what the notes look like. So let me know. I need to lose Evernote over here because it's huge and I can't see the chat. Let me know, is that the kind of notes that you would take in a live session? Would they be more detailed than that? Would they have more styling than that? Or is that what they look like? If it was 2021 for me, I'd be lucky if the date was on the notes, much less who the speaker was, much less where the replay was. I mean, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? But I've really sorted my note taking out. So that's probably what I would have had back in the day. So you let me know what you would have had. Oh, Patience says I have notes. I never remember where I put them. That's where backlinkings are going to help. Okay. Now, what I've done, and I'm going to go through Obsidian first, and then I'm going to show you exactly the same thing in Evernote. But this is what I have in Evernote, and it is literally a copy and paste of what we have there. So it's exactly the same. Right, we will use that one shortly. So what I would do in here as I'm looking at this, I quite frequently think, oh, I've done a session on that. I go and try and find it. The odds are you wouldn't be able to find it. How I helped myself with that was if the notes were handwritten, they were in GoodNotes. And I had one notebook per year. And it was a rule that if I used a page, it needed to be dated. I didn't number the pages, but I had to put a date and preferably a title. So if I think, oh, it was in May, then I would be able to go back and look at an overview of it and probably find them. But other than that, they could be in OneNote, they could be in Evernote, they could be in Rome. It's a sad day, isn't it, Mike? I actually said to you, what was it about? It was the 28th of January. Oh, I know. It was tax day. Don't ask. We don't like tax day. It's stressful. And I said to Mike, I remember writing something last year, so it would have been the 28th of January. Had the computer upside down. You know when I eventually found it? Day 1. Well, duh, it was on a date, wasn't it? But it took me that long to remember where it was. So what I'm doing now is what you see here. I would not leave these notes looking like this. So what I would do is, I do actually have some metadata at the top. Well, that's the start, isn't it? And I've put in the date, and if I click on there, you get the double asterisks, which makes it bold. So if I were to take that heading, which is notes, and do Command and B, it would make it bold. You only see those when you're editing the line. Okay, so that's why these are darker. Then I've got the actual date that the notes were taken. I've got the time they were taken. I've got who the speaker was, and I've got what the series was. Now, what I would do with that in Obsidian is prettify it. If my notes are pretty, I'm more likely to revisit them. So this is what I actually do. You can in here put a call out in, insert call out, and that gives you that. And it says note, and it's looking for a title. So the title of that would be meta. And this where it says contents, that's the actual contents. So it would be, for example, the date. And you see what happens as soon as I move out of it, this springs to life and looks pretty. So the contents of that would be the date, the time, the presenter. I'm seeing a question here.
Yes, from Patience.
What's the question?
Question is, it may be a silly question, and you may have answered it previously, but can you take notes straight from Notion and open them in Obsidian?
Not particularly open them, because the way that Notion exports it is not good. But you can do what you want to do, just not necessarily in that way. So let me... there we go. Looking for Notion. Right, there we go. There's Notion. Right, let me bring that over so you can see it. That is my ship 30 for today. And it was quite tricky today, because I've got the first tweet, the second tweet. I actually put a third tweet out, and that there is the essay. So in here you can see it's got a quote. That's what the line is. It's bold. It's got headings in it. And what I'm going to do is select it, copy it, move over to here, make a new file, master pages, click in it and paste. And the whole lot comes in. The fact that it's a level 2 heading, the fact it's a quote, the fact it's bold, all comes in. So yes, you can copy and paste. Anything else, or is that it?
That is it.
Okay, so we'll lose that one and we'll get back into here. So I'm showing you that you've got these call outs, which are wonderful to draw your attention to something specific like that. So I need to put the rest of these in there. So that's these 3 lines here need to go in there. As I press enter, I get like an angle bracket, and that's telling me it's going to paste that in. When I paste it, it's going to be part of it, like that, which looks grand. Right, that means I can delete all of that. But that's metadata, and I think it's got a pencil next to it, and it's blue. You have a whole range of these, and if you change the word note to info and click away, you get a different icon. If I go back and I change that to bug, as in bug report, it will change again. It changes colour and it changes the icon. So, small thing maybe, but absolutely fabulous. I love that. I'm not sure that meta is one. We'll change it back to note. Right. That means that at the top of that, my eye is going to be drawn to that, and I'm going to know exactly when it was and who it was. The next thing I would probably do is start to make the notes more accessible with formatting. So we're not onto backlinks yet, we're onto formatting. So that one is probably going to be a heading 1, which I can do, where are we? Like that. So I'm just applying a heading 1 to it. Then there was the breakout room, so that would be a heading 2. These were who was in the breakout room with me, so that'll probably be a heading 3. These are the resources, so that would be a heading 2. That would be a heading 2. And that would be a heading 2. And now I personally look at that, and because I'm used to the colours that I use, and those are they, I instantly, if I'm looking who was I in the breakout room with, I instantly can see breakout room and my eyes are drawn to the yellow, to the orange heading, which is who was in there. Right, at that point, they're pretty notes, but that's about it. Backlinking is where the magic happens. So if we look at the bottom of this, you can see it says linked mentions, 0, no backlinks found, and there's no unlinked mentions either. So first of all, what's the difference between a linked mention and an unlinked mention? Well, this has a title at the top. If I take that title and I create a new page and I go to that page and put something like, I attended this session, is that going to be an unlinked mention or a linked mention? Not particularly. But if with this I thought, yes, and I took some notes on that, I can do one of two things. I can either, with it selected, go bracket, bracket, and that will make it a linked mention. You can see straight down here, straight away, you've mentioned this page from another page. New page isn't exactly brilliant, is it? But if I put sessions I've attended worth revisiting, now it makes much more sense. That gets updated automatically as well, and I've attended that session. Right, so that's your mentions, but we're not particularly concerned about this at the moment. That's an example of when something will appear at the bottom. When I delete it, it disappears. One thing to be aware of with Obsidian is by default, you do not see these backlinks. So you need to be sure of two things before you try and do what I'm about to do. One, you need to go into the core plugins and ensure that backlinks are turned on. By default, they are. But we know that we have options for every one of the plugins, and backlinks is no exception. There is one setting in there for backlinks, and that is, are they shown in the document by default when you open a new tab? By default, that's turned off. So I turn that on. There, you don't need to. There are other ways to work with backlinks. But if you're coming from Roam or another app that has the backlinks shown at the bottom automatically, you're lost without them. I felt when I came to Obsidian, if I had to go and find the panel for the backlinks once more, I would lose it. So I made sure that that was turned on. Your mileage may vary. What this page would look like if they were turned off, which is the default, you can manually toggle them on and off up here. So if it was off by default, it would look like that. Now at that point, well, where would you see them? And you have two panels. You have links and you have linked mentions with backlinks. So you've got two panels up here to look at them through, and I loathed it. It completely lost me. So I made sure that my default was to have them turned on all the time. At the bottom, there they are. Right, so the notes so far, they look pretty. Would I be able to find them? Probably. Because I would know it was about Smart Notes, so I could search for Smart Notes. I may remember that Zunka Ahrens was the presenter. I'm probably not going to remember more than that, though. Okay? So these notes would be a whole lot more useful with backlinks. So for a start, the date of them. Well, we know up here that we've got calendar. So if we scoot back in this calendar and we scoot back to May, in here, 22nd of May, there's nothing mentioned on that day at the moment at all. But if we took that date and we put double brackets on it, why are you not working? Have I done that as well? Come on, that's better. Right, so I'm in edit mode and I just put double brackets around that date. Magic things happen. That is now linked. So there's nothing in here yet. Nothing is linked to this. But if we go to the 22nd, you can see at the bottom that there is a linked mention of this date and from that page. So you know now that that is where and when these notes were made. So if you're looking through your notes and you're looking at May, you will find that. Right, next thing. And I'm going through this reasonably slowly and explaining it as I go. But I would go through this really quickly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a copy of that and we will put that in there as a backup. Right, okay, let's get back to over here. So it would be interesting to link everything to do with Zunka Ahrens with a backlink. So, and the Smart Notes series, do that. Right, now this is the bit that made the magic happen 18 months later with the story I told you a couple of weeks ago. Right, we went into a breakout room for 10 minutes and the prompt was share what app you use and give 3 reasons why. So I'll make that bold because that was the prompt. And these were the 3 people that I was in the breakout room with, and I don't know any of them. Don't know them from Adam. But I would select their names and I would put them in double brackets. At this point, this is not making a page for them. It's actually done nothing in terms of my data. It's just potentially I might want to add information about them. So I've added those. This one is a resource. So this is an external one. You can see it's got the arrow. It's also a deeper purple than these 3, which tell you that this is an active link rather than a passive. Maybe you'll create these pages in the future, but right now they don't exist. Then I've got the second session is next week. Well, that's all very well. When next week? Well, if it's a week later, it would be the 29th. So if I say next week and I put the square brackets in, you can see there it prompts me to, okay, do you want to choose one of these pages? And actually, I don't. I want to put in May the 29th and just move along. Right, summary. Good overview, needs more detail. Right, that's me making those notes that useful, you won't believe it. Because I didn't actually add any text, but now they are way more useful. Way more useful. So for a start, in here, I've got, we'll ignore the backup one, but it proves it's working, doesn't it? It proves it's working. Right, so I've got my link in here, But the power comes down the line. Now, before we move down the line, what I would say about this is, right, so I've got this one here. When I hover over it, you can see it says it's not created yet. But if you would like to say something about this, just click it to create it. So I'm going to click it. And he is a German academic who wrote how to take smart notes. Right, is there anything I need to do there? Well, probably how to take smart notes and turn that into a backlink, because I'm probably going to want to know about that. If you look at the bottom, if you're looking at his page, you can see, oh, I went to a session and he presented it. And I can click there to go to it, and I'm back at my notes. I've got a series on smart notes. So let me have a think about smart notes. I can tell from the colour that the Zonka Aaron's page exists. The smart notes page does not exist. Do I want to say something about smart notes? Not at the moment. But if I did, I would automatically have a link to it. So that was me sorting out those notes way back when. So almost 2 years ago. Right, then this happened. So I'm going to close that down. And I'm going to move to today. So we'll say that this happened today. I've had a quiet day today, haven't I? Right, this is my backup, which I'll use shortly. But this is today. And let's say today, and this is how I actually do it. I would have my standard data at the top, and then throughout the day as things happen. So I had a session today, and it was 5 o'clock. Right, I make that a heading 2, and then what was the session? And the session, let's say it was, let's say smart notes for techie folk. Right, so there was a session on today. And I would then add my notes, but where would I add my notes? Now, if I'm doing this quick and dirty, I can add them there. But ultimately, I'm going to want that to link to a page. So what I do is I always put at the end today's date. Oh, and you're not working, are you not? There we go. I always put today's date. That way, I've got the name of the session and I've got the date in it. I don't need the date in Obsidian because I'm going to add the date, but I do need the date if I ever need to look at the file. So I put the date at the end. Why don't I put the date at the beginning, which would make them sortable? I don't put it at the beginning because if I'm on mobile, that's all I'm going to see, and I'm not going to be able to see the title. I want to see the title. So all I need to do is double bracket that. And then I would carry on and do the other stuff. So I would probably put down there, we had Munich stuff to do, didn't we, at 6 o'clock? So Munich stuff. And then I would make a note of what that was. So new graphic for Facebook, which I actually did. So I would make that a to-do and then toggle that I've done it. Right, then I think, oh, where's my notes for this? So hover over it, click it, blank set of notes. I do have a link note because I've linked it from my daily page. But up here, I'm going to put in what I would put in relation to this. So I will open up the backup so you can see it next to it. Right, so how I would put those notes in. I would have my meta at the top, which if you remember, /p gives you access to the commands, and the command I'm looking for is callout. Insert callout. So insert a callout. I left that at note, but I changed the title to meta. And down here, I would want to put the date. I would want to put the time. I would want to put the presenter. And obviously I have this on a template. I'm doing it the slow way so you can see me actually making the notes. And I may want to put the series down there. Then I would take each of these and make them bold, which is why I have a template. So it's much faster. Right, let's do that. And then I would put that in. So as I put this in here, I'm going to create, in fact, it will give me the date. because that's a page that I've been using. So there's the date. The time doesn't really need to be linked, but I'll put the time in. Let's say the presenter was Fred Blogs. It wasn't Zunker. Right, and the series, we could put Smart Notes because it is about Smart Notes. Right, now you can see there, I've then got that list, which is, well, I wouldn't link to itself, which is the second one. That's the book. That's another session on it. That reminds me that in 2001, oh yeah, there was a session I had in 2001. But I will link it to the Smart Notes. And then the rest of that becomes add my notes. There's my heading one. And I would put the rest of the notes in there. Now, again, I've got a template for this, but let's say I had a breakout room. Another breakout room. Got to love breakout rooms, haven't we? Right. And again, let's say that that was 15 minutes. And I'd probably have a prompt for that. So, talk about when you first used backlinks. That's a good one, isn't it? Right. You would be in a breakout room with somebody. So I put down breakout room buddies. And then I would put them in. And then I would put the rest of my notes. The rest of the notes taken during the session. Right, why is it magic? It's magic because of this. In the breakout room, I'm in the breakout room, and let's say that Fred Blogs, who's actually presenting it, joins us. Right, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened, so I'll double bracket Fred. And the other person that is in this breakout room is Sarah Westbrook. So I put down, and I don't know Sarah Westbrook. I have no idea. I have no recollection whatsoever I have ever heard of this woman. In fact, I'll do it this way. So I open up the square brackets, right, and I start typing her name. And her name comes up. Where from? I don't know this woman. I do not have a page called Sarah Westbrook. So where on earth is her name coming from? Just to prove that I don't, if we go look in my notes here, we've got the inbox, we've got CT Mastermind demos, hello, Raycast, nothing else. They're not going to be in the periodic notes. There is nothing in there. There is nothing in the areas, that's blank completely, and there's nothing in the archives. And all of this stuff here should be in the inbox, which we can do. So, where do my notes go? All right. So as I go back to here, there is no page called Sarah Westbrook. But as I start typing it, I think I've met this woman before. I've no idea where at this stage, but I've met this woman before. So I press enter and accept that. Right. Then I take some notes. And I think to myself, this is strange. This is very, very strange. So as I hover over her name, I click it. That creates the page. You saw the page appear here by magic. That made the page. As soon as I click that page, I can see that I have met her today, and that was when I met her before. And I did not need to know that. I had no recollection of that. This actually happened, and I had no recollection of it. So while we were in this breakout room, and we were talking away, and she, it's been a pleasure to meet you. And I said, actually, we've met before. And she was like, really? And I go down to Understanding Smart Notes, part 1, and I say, yeah, it was about 18 months ago. We were in a breakout room together in the Understanding Smart Notes session. And she said, you must be taking great notes, which is true. That's how it works. The idea is not that you are overburdening yourself with making notes. The idea is that the more complete the notes are, even if all you do, I might meet Tom Daniels again one day. There's no page for Tom Daniels or David Fraser. But if they rocked up at an event, exactly the same thing would happen. So if we go back to our Techie Folks one, and let's say we had somebody join us in there, and I think, oh, we got another guy, right? And it's Tom Daniels, and up it comes. I don't even have to type Tom. I can type Daniels. And that tells me we've met before. As it happens, it was at the same event. That is the power of backlinks. You don't have to create all of the pages. They do not have to exist. But what will happen is, as you, whenever, start adding content inside square brackets that you have referenced before, the app will say, well, it won't actually say anything to you, but it will highlight it in a different colour. It'll be a different purple. You can see Sarah's page exists, but Tom and Fred's doesn't. It is going to offer you that. You do not have to remember. That is fundamentally different to a notes app that does not have backlinks. Now, there are notes apps that claim to have backlinks, like Notion. They have page-level backlinks, which is all very well, but I have to have mentioned that particular page. Worse still, I cannot mention a page that does not exist. And in Obsidian, I can. So Fred Blogs doesn't exist, Tom Daniels doesn't exist, but they're still referenced. And if from somewhere else I mentioned Tom or David, I would know I had met them before. Do you get that? Is that enlightening for you, Mike, about why it's amazing?
Yes.
Right, let's have a look at the alternative then, because you just might not like Obsidian. So let's have a look what we would do in Evernote, because Evernote's got backlinks, hasn't it? They told us it had. It's amazing, they said. Right, so I'll go in here. I'm not sure about the shortcuts for styles because they keep changing them. And right now, because Evernote is running, I've already got a problem. And that is my Finder isn't working properly because the shortcuts clash. Don't get me going. But this is exactly the same information. So I'd be looking to format it. Now, this I'd want as a block. Well, good luck with that. It doesn't do things like that. I could maybe put it in a table if I had all day to fiddle. You know, I could maybe make a table. I've already put in these being bold. I guess I'd have to put some kind of formatting on that. Maybe like a medium header or something. That doesn't look too bad. Then I'd need to go through these and put a header in. So at this stage, we're doing exactly the same as we did in Obsidian with formatting. Why have we got eMyth in there? That was terrible. Don't remind me. Still recovering. Right, follow up. Medium header and summary. So, formatting wise, it's doable. They're not pretty, but you could go in and change the colour. Again, you know, you got all day to play around. You could do that if you wanted to. Whereas the way that I did it in Obsidian, it was the speed of it. So, I could do that. Right. Let's go back up here. How do I link this to a daily page? What's a daily page in Evernote? Well, you could make a page called that if you wanted. That's not a bad idea then. Well, if I made that page, I would then be able to link to it, which we've been able to do since time immemorial. But that isn't really how Evernote expects you to work. But here's the big problem. Right, that page doesn't exist and I'd like to link to it. While we're at it, that page doesn't exist and I'd like to link to it. And this page doesn't exist and I'd like to link to it. Are you following along here? That doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, that doesn't exist. And if it doesn't exist, I can't link to it. That is the problem with backnotes in Evernote. So I would literally at this stage have to go and make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages that would exist and have no content on them, it's just blank at the moment, before I can actually mark this up and link the pages. Life's too short. So just to show you, if you did have the page, you would be doing the plus and you would be adding a note link, but the note link can only link to an existing page. So those pages would have to exist for absolutely no good reason. With Obsidian, it's like on demand. I need that page now. I did not need it 18 months ago. And I only need it now because now I've got I'm playing Snap now. Now I've got 2 references to this person. We started following each other on LinkedIn and we chat now. So now we know each other. Now it's worth having a page, but it wasn't 18 months ago. And that is the huge problem when an app says, we've got backlinks. That's grand. Are they real backlinks, or are they just a poor imitation? And basically, these are a poor imitation. So, to show you this one, as I'm... let's get that across there. In fact, we can shut that one down, can't we? Right, when I said here how fast I could mark these up, let's take these out and take it back to exactly what it was. So I won't do the call out at the top, but I will do the rest of it and just show you how fast, by comparison, I would be able to mark this up. So I've done the top bit. That's a 1. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a... no, is that a 2? That's a 2. That's a 2. And that's a 2. Right. These people need to be linked. Square bracket, square bracket. Square bracket, square bracket. Square bracket, square bracket. And the session is next week. I would do that. I would put the square brackets in. I would know it was 2021 05 29. It's coming there from the periodic notes. I'm done. I would also, up here, although I'm not going to fiddle around, I would be taking these square brackets, that square brackets, and my note is finished. And although the page for Smart Notes doesn't exist, and the page for David and Tom don't exist, they'll be there when I need them. They will completely be there when I need them. So, if we look here, we did have a link to a book somewhere. So if I go to Zonka's page, you can see how to take Smart Notes. So if I link to that, it doesn't tell me in here what date it was published or anything about it, but I can see that the author is linked at the bottom. What this then looks like, what you're creating, is what you see in here. Now this one looks very different to mine. This is your graph view. This graph looks like this because there are hundreds of unlinked pages. And there are little bits of linked pages. The unlinked pages are all the days that we added that aren't linked to anything. But these down here, that one is the annual index. And you can see that that is 2023 and it's linking to all of these pages. And this one here is 2025, which is linking to the 12 months in that. And there is 2024 linking to those. We have a couple of others, like the stuff going on here. What is that? So you're looking at the one in the middle. That's an annual index that I've added. So that's linking to stuff. And you've got odd things happening here. So if we look at this, there's the Smart Notes for Techie Folk. And you can see off that what date it was. So we've got the 3rd of February. Fred blogs, but the page doesn't exist because there isn't a dark node, it's a light node. You've got Smart Notes, which is linking to this session, and somewhere in here we'd have a link to Zonka. There's David Fraser. Where's Zonka? He'll be in there somewhere. How does I take? There he is. Right, so there's 2 links to him and a link from him to taking Smart Notes. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you use the graph view. I'm just showing you that that is what is happening as you're using it. Now, somewhere, there's my ship 30 for today. So if I show you what mine looks like, let's bring mine on. Right, that's today's essay written in there. If I get rid of this side and this side, and I bring up my graph view looks very different. Very different. So I'm zooming out. Let's get rid of that. There it is. So I've got a lot more information in there. I still have 2023, 2024 and 2025 all unlinked, which are these around the edge, which are not linked to anything else, but you can also see clusters appearing. So there's one cluster. That is ship 30 from June 2021, which is the first time that I did it. That one is October 2021. And there's some other stuff here. What are these? Course Creator Virtual Summit that I attended. That was day 1, day 2 and day 3. So you can see that they're linked in, and then each one has the sessions from that day. As I say, I personally would not navigate this like this. But the idea is that you can see your interests. And it is fascinating to zoom in and look at this thing. But mine's complicated. This is showing you that you've created a bit of a grid of information here. So I could go to today and I could think, yeah, I did that session this morning. Oh, I talked to Sarah. I'll talk to her on LinkedIn. I want to see what session she was in. I've totally forgotten that. So I go to this and I've got, there it is. That's the one from 2021. I'm straight there. I don't need to know when it was. I just click the links. That is the beauty of the backlinks. And if I then had, though there was a second session the week after, so let's take that and click on that day and say that again, 5 o'clock, there was a session. And this time it would be part 2. Now, what may have happened, I may have taken these notes handwritten. So that might not actually exist. But what I can do with it is just put it in double brackets. The session now exists in here. I can then click on that. It will take me to it and I can start putting my notes in. Even if all I do is, type up the notes from wherever they were. And let's say at that session, we did a breakout room. So I've got my breakout room buddies again. No O in that. Let's make that's a 3. And in there, guess who was there? Sarah was there. It's that simple. And I can do this in real time while I'm in a session. My notes for an average session probably run to about 8 pages. And I'm putting in, if I see somebody in the chat that I know, then I'll make a note. And then if they ask a great question, I can put their name next to the question. That is how I make the notes. The backlinks being absolutely critical. So, do we have any questions about backlinks?
We have one question.
Okay.
Can you search and switch to graph view?
Is that one question or 2?
One.
Search and switch. Do you mean where you do a search and then the results are in graph view? The best way to do that, if that's what you want to do, is switch to graph view and you can filter graph view. So you can filter it in lots of different ways. You can search the files for a specific tag. You can search for attachments. You can say existing files only. Existing files only would take away Tom and David. So if we find them in this mix down here, where were we? It wasn't that one, was it? Or have we now got a different view? What's this? Understanding Smart Notes, right. There's David, right? Sarah exists, David does not. Smart Notes does not, Fred Blogs does not. So if we toggle on existing files only, you can see they disappear. Sarah exists, all the rest of them exist. So the filters in graph view are the same as the search. So I would use the search for text-based results, and I would use the filters, groups, display and stuff for the graph view. So hopefully that will explain that. Kim is liking the backlinks. It might take a little bit of a leap of faith. And like Mike, he doesn't bother putting the square brackets around stuff until I tunnel in, you see. So he's like, I've worked on this, I've worked on that, and I can see his notes, and I say, just a minute, and I'll go into his notes and I'll start backlinking. But you'll thank me eventually, won't you? It'll probably be a while, but you'll thank me eventually. Okay, do we have anything else? Patience says in Notion it gives you a divider and you use that one all the time. So do I. I use that in here. And so if we go into here and we go back to, let's go back to there, and I'm navigating here, these notes, via the links. I'm not looking for them. I'm not searching. I'm not delving into the vault. I can navigate all the way back and forward through the links that are already in there. But let's say in here, I wanted to put like a summary and I wanted that after a line. I just put 3 minus signs and I get a line to segment it. So yes, you can use the lines as well. Oh, Carol says backlinks are awesome. They are. It does. I think for some people it's instant. For others, they need to think about it. for longer. And I think you need to have had an experience like that. And that to me was like, there's a lot said about Nicholas Luhmann, who is kind of the grandfather of Zettelkasten. And he would say he had a dialogue with his notes. And people, their eyes roll as though really. But it was my notes that told me I'd met Sarah before. It wasn't me. My second brain is way better than my first, but only because I took the time to put the backlinks in. And the backlinks are literally just put the square brackets around it. That's it. And that's why Evernote, no chance. Never switching back to Evernote, not happening. I can link to what's there, but I can't link to what's not. And that sounds so pedantic. Oh, so you can't link to what's there. Oh, poor you. But it stops moments of serendipity where I know I've met Sarah. And if David and Tom turned up, I'd know I'd met them as well. It would stop that dead in its tracks. Unless I took the time to create 6 pages to hang off that one notes page. I could leave this where the only page that existed were the date pages. So I could have left Zonka Aaron's Smart Notes, these 3 names. I could have left all those with nothing on them. And it wouldn't have been half as useful. When would I have discovered these notes again? When I searched for them. Why would I be searching for them? I can't even remember that I did the session. So why would I be searching for them? Or I know I did a session, I can't remember when. And then it's like, well, how am I going to find it then? And you would be left probably looking at a calendar and trying to find out when it was and then doing a search by date. But I understand it takes a leap of faith to think it's worthwhile putting those links in. But it really is. And eventually, once I've bought my cattle prod, Mike will be doing it, won't you? Automatically. Lest the cattle prod come out. Okay, if we have no questions about that, I will go into here. And we will see what we have got coming up. We are back next week. How is it, the 10th of February? No idea. What we're doing. I have no idea on that either. So let me know if there's anything that you are particularly in need of doing. On demand, we have everything. So youtube.com/Elaine Giles or /at Elaine Giles, I do believe now. There is a playlist which has got every after hours going all the way back to November 2018. And you will find that linked to from macbites.co.uk/after hours playlist. And of course, we love you guys. If you love us, could you give us a like? Because it really, the algorithm likes it. And I like it when the algorithm likes it. There is also, while you are there, the subscribe button, which means you will be notified of all things new. Possibly a good idea to do that. Just saying. Can't say any more, but let's just say that. If you want first dibs on everything that I am doing, you need to go to elainegiles.com/VIP. Sign up for my newsletter. And there is the MacBites mail, where you get notified of MacBites After Hours. And the podcast, eventually. Not recovered from the gas man yet. We are also in Slack, and that is where we carry on the conversation. You may join us. It would be a delight to see you there. macbites.co.uk/Slack. It's totally free. It's like I always say it's like Twitter, but without the toxicity. Twitter can be very toxic. Do you know I had to look up? All you in America will laugh at me now. But I had to look up. I was watching this old drama. Now, I will admit it was from 2019. But they were talking about a young lad who had a baseball cap on. And I understand what a baseball cap is. I'm not quite that ancient. But they called it a MAGA hat. And I'm like, what's a MAGA hat? I had to do the Googles.
I've never heard that.
Make America Great Again. It was a Trump thing. I had no idea. So they were criticising this lad for his political views, and it turned out it was a school baseball cap. But I had no idea what it was. Oh, there you go. So yeah, toxic. That reminded me, talking of toxicity. But there you go. And of course you can find us here. Although you're not really on Twitter much, are you? Talking to toxic.
Me? No.
No, Twitter can be a bit toxic. We need somewhere nice, don't we? So come join us in Slack. That's nice. Right, do we have any questions?
No.
What, none at all? Good grief.
Well, we've got one.
Is Kim laughing at me in the MAGA hat?
No.
What was that all about?
She's laughing at the comment Peter made.
A certain dirty arc mode. Well, Peter, I couldn't possibly be drawn, but you never know. I put it in my notes and I backlinked it, so it's anything's possible, isn't it? What you're doing is just reminding me, aren't you, Peter? I think that's quite clever myself. Yeah, because when it gets on the list, and I'm looking at the list, I'm like, oh, if I don't do that, I'll upset Peter. So it kind of rises to the top, doesn't it? You're very clever. Very, very clever. You never know. Let's just leave it at you never know. What else have we got then? Is that it for this week? What are we doing this week? Oh, Mike's 3-day extravaganza at the Excel Summit thingy, which I've been invited to, haven't I?
You have.
Yes, so I can watch his sessions. I see Peter's aware of what he's doing. He's very aware of what he's doing. I will have to show you my graph and then we can zoom in on certain bits, can't we? And then you can get very excited. And then probably notice that there's no date next to it. But just saying. So, who's changed their mind on backlinks? Who now sees the value of the backlink? It wasn't instant for me, I must admit. I basically used them in Rome because without them you'd never find a thing. Rome had no filing system whatsoever, which is quite clever. I have been tempted to go back to that with Obsidian, but I've resisted. On the basis, it'd be easier to sort the files out on a weekly basis than it would 2 years in when they're all over the place and 5,000 of them in a folder. So, oh, Peter's now saying pretty please. Oh, I know what you need to do, Peter. You need to get your dogs to look woeful and you know, say daddy's sad. Send them to me on Facebook. That'd be grand. Go on, do that. I was saying to Mike, I watched a video about he's a Malamute cross, isn't he? About this dog, and because I'd watched this video, it offered me another one, and it was a dog, and I think he'd been to the vet, and he'd probably had some anaesthetic or something, and this family had just had a baby, and this baby couldn't have been more than a couple of months old, bouncing up and down on daddy's lap, and the dog was next to him, and they were saying to the dog, "Go on, talk to us." And the dog was trying to howl and he couldn't. He'd lost his voice. Oh, it was pitiful. It was pitiful. The poor dog's face. So the family are howling for him until his voice comes back. Bless him. Oh, that won't be hard. Right, there you go then. There's your challenge. Challenge accepted. Excellent. Excellent. Right, okay then. If we have no more questions, I'll head off. I've got 2 more essays to do. Who's been reading them? I did actually get a message from someone who was reading them, or actually somebody who wanted to read them. But I don't think they like the format of them being a picture that is attached on Twitter. And I get that. That's just the way Ship 30 works. So maybe the same stuff in a different format might be better. Because I know Kim's not fond of Twitter either, are you? Nobody's fond of Twitter, to be honest. And the idiot that's in charge, oh, don't get me going. Basically, whatever you post, he doesn't like it. And he's still there, isn't he? Although he said he'd go, he caveated that with, I'll go when I can find somebody to buy it. Well, who's going to be mug enough? You know, you're going to need to find somebody. Bigger idiot than you. That's going to be tough. So, never mind. Kim, no, hang on. Carol says, my essays have done well, but not my Twitter threads. Twitter threads are a bit odd. I did one Twitter thread in addition. I didn't do it instead of because that went hideously wrong last time. In the last cohort before Christmas, we did the Twitter thread thing and I thought I'll do a thread instead of an essay. And I posted the whole thing from TypeShare and it didn't register. So there I am, 4 minutes to midnight, writing a woe is me post to make sure that I got a post that day. And saying that I'd done this Twitter thread and it didn't work. I found, what was the Twitter thread about? Because it didn't offer it to me. I didn't see it. So that's not good news for a start, is it? The one that did reasonably well for me, it probably did better than some of the essays, was one where I did the top 5 viewed publisher videos from 2022. And I put like the top 5, and then I put a link to each one with the poster for each one. And that thread did quite well. But probably because it's hashtagged Affinity Publisher, anybody who's following the hashtag sees it. If they've not seen the video, then they're going to be interested in the video. But I don't think I've mastered threads to that degree, let's put it like that. And I don't like making them. I use Scrivener. I built a spreadsheet, a thing in Scrivener, a Scrivener file, to do these threads. So there is a count at the bottom that counts up to the number of characters, 280 characters. I put the images in there and all the rest of it, but I just find it so fragmented. And most people are saying that they're doing really, really well on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn's dead as far as I'm concerned. So I might have to think more carefully about what to do with that. Your first ever SLR camera. See, I would have thought that had gone down well. I would. People are strange. People are strange with what they read and what they don't. One of mine that did the best ever.
Going for a comfort break.
Mike's heading for a comfort break, Renee. I'll just leave you with that image while you contemplate the splash screen for Illustrator. Oh no, don't go there. No, one of my best performing ones was something that, as far as I was concerned, was a throwaway essay. I was talking about tech and productivity, I think. And I just thought of like a funny story that was true. And I wrote, the title that I used was What Happened the Day My Keyboard Met the Shower. And it was this Matthias Pro keyboard, which is like the old clicky-clacky ones, right? The big ones, like an IBM One keyboard. And I love this keyboard. Oh, I absolutely adored it. Mike loathed it. It was like a herd of rampaging buffalo wearing clogs. It was so noisy. And every time he had a webinar or I had a webinar, I had to switch the keyboard. So in the end, I gave up. But this keyboard was pride of place at that stage. And I knocked a cup of tea over it with sugar in. This is calamitous. So I thought, well, it's dead anyway. So I dashed into the shower with it and I turned the shower on. I had it in the shower for 15 minutes trying to wash the tea off it before it did any harm. I then thought that's going to need to dry. So I left it like upside down on towels for 3 or 4 days. But in the meanwhile, I rang the company that I bought it from and said I needed to buy another one. To be told they didn't have any in stock and they were imported specially from America. So that wasn't happening. So for 4 days, I'm looking at this keyboard, trying to check out that it's drying off it, hairdryer, towel, more towels, shaking it upside down. When I finally got the courage to plug it in, it actually still worked. And people just loved that story and they put so many comments on that story. The problem is, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how Dickie and Cole do it. I don't have stories like that, 30 of them, to titillate people. I don't. Some stuff isn't as funny. Some stuff isn't as fascinating. And yet they seem to get people that will put a like on anything. I can imagine Dickie saying, I'm going for a comfort break, and he'd get 500 likes. Maybe it's who you are, not what you do. We could consider that. Glad you enjoyed it, Richard. Best one was asking whether you should take dogs to nature reserve. Oh no, anything with a dog will kick it off. I believe, I don't know if Facebook created these groups, but there's a lot of groups on Facebook, and it's the first part of your postcode. So Manchester United would be in M16, and we're in M33. So there is the M33 group, and it's the local group. This week, it always kicks off. You'll get a post around Bonfire Night, Diwali, and New Year. My dog's petrified, the fireworks. And then you'll get people coming back with, your fault, you've got a dog, you look after it, and it kicks off. So this week, there was this story, and I'm reading it, and my eyes are coming out on stalks. Somebody had got a photograph of 2 dogs. What breed were they? They were big, weren't they? Like a mastiff of some description. Like they were huge, and they were brown, and they were not happy. They were mean dogs. They'd escaped and run riot. So obviously, I'd imagine they're chipped. I think it's illegal not to have a dog chip these days. Anyway, they got them back to the owner after they terrorised half the neighbourhood, and I mean like a mile away from where they lived. They got these dogs back. The owner doesn't care. Oh, they just get out. They just jump over you. They just get out. They got out again and killed a cat. Then they got out again and they bit a bloke. He ended up in the local A&E. Then they got out again and bit another bloke on the backside. So he ended up in A&E as well. And nobody's doing anything about these dogs. So people are posting in the M33 group, and with it being about dogs, people are going mental. They could argue in an empty room. Until in the end, the woman who posted the picture, now I will admit she posted a picture of her husband's backside with the bite on it, but even so, you knew it was real. Wonder Facebook let it through. She posted and said, just be aware, this is happening. And in the end, she had to block comments on it because they were that bad. People just can't play nicely together. So I can imagine a post about that. Yeah, that would, oh yes, definitely. Isn't there something about taking dogs to fishing places as well? That the dogs bark and then the fish don't bite. Dogs get a bad rep. They do. Poor dogs. Oh, Jammy's in. Watching After Hours 84. Oh, Jammy. Didn't realise it was Friday. I asked where you were at the beginning, didn't I?
I even mentioned him in Slack.
Yep. You were pinged and you still missed us. We missed you, Jammy. We're going to have to come up with a foolproof plan. Email us or send it into Slack what Jammy should do not to miss any more. Our stories of the gas man and the one about the frozen chicken. Oh God, yeah, do you remember that one where the bird, well, we think it was a bird, dropped the chicken in the back garden? Well, I thought it was the one next door that tried killing the last dog off. I thought, why is there a piece of chicken in the back garden? You do begin to wonder. It's like somebody's thrown it in. And luckily we had the CCTV to find out a bird dropped it. I wonder where the bird got it from.
Somebody's Barbie, probably.
Was it cooked? It was actually, wasn't it? It wasn't frozen either. Well, it wasn't frozen by the time we found it. You're right, Kim. That's exactly what we need to do. We need to mine all the stuff that happens here. I mean, the gas man was a fiasco. We didn't want to let him in. Nobody has been in the house in 3 years, obviously. So we didn't want to let him in. And, he had to put a mask on, but he had to take his boots off as well. So you've never seen anything like it. And I just said, I'll be upstairs. Just leave me with it. I can't be doing with it. Oh, my word. There you go. Toblerone Thomas's message on Slack's the only reason you're here now. Jammy. I think we're going to have some severe reprimands in place here, aren't we? This'll focus minds. Oh, there you go. That's a good idea from Renee. Somebody will ring you. You can't say fairer than this, What I'm wondering is you're clearly not. Either you're not subscribed or you're not getting the mails at 5 to 9 that say we're going live in 5 minutes. What happened to that, Jamie?
He is subscribed.
Oh, you are subscribed. Well, you're not reading them then.
Yes, because he's subscribed to get...
there you go. You see, I've always said, go into the gym. You'll never get any good coming of that. You see? You've missed out tonight on an amazingly fun night. You might be fit and healthy, but that's not the point. Oh, good grief. Oh, Friday's Kim's best day. She look forward to being here all week. We look forward to chatting with you, Kim. It's amazing. And Tracy's just got in as well. Say hello, Tracy. Don't know about the 2 stories. Which 2 stories are these? We need to have a session on timekeeping. We need something like productivity, like note-taking. Because I'm confident now with my notes. Although, having said that, you'll love this one. This was October, right? And I read this article on Medium. And I don't know how I don't know how I even found this article. And it sparked something in me that I could write that was only tangentially related to what I'd read. And I thought, oh, yeah, that interests me. And, I've got something that I can add to that. So I went into Obsidian and I put a note in. And I actually said on the comment post, when I went back to it the other day, there it was. And I thought, on the comment post, there was no link to the post. And I'm like, oh, what were you thinking? Then I had to start thinking, right, okay, how would I find that? Because I hadn't put the link in. I thought maybe I saved it to Evernote, because Evernote's just a dumping ground. Everything goes in the archive. And I did, I found it in Evernote. But I thought, how stupid. So the next thing I did was put a live link in there to it. So yeah, we need you honed with time management. That's what we need. Oh, Jammy's wriggling on the hook now. Technically, you were kind of here listening to me from 3 years ago. Ah, yes, but me now is much better. Plus the fact the MacBite has missed you live. We can't be missing you live. We're going to have to find a foolproof way to ensuring that you're here. Never mind it's in the locker. Mind you, what would I know about gyms? When was the last time I went to a gym? I think I was 15 at school. Oh, they did want me to go again the year after. Do you remember that? No, I think I've told you, but you probably wouldn't remember. I went to college because I didn't like all the stuff we had to do if you stayed at school to sixth form. When I got to college, I was doing 3 A-levels, which was 7 hours each, 21 hours a week. But you had to do 22 hours to be a full-time student. So they very kindly, note the sarcasm, stuck on general studies. General studies is just the name for peeing about, isn't it? Yeah. So general studies was on. We had 3 terms and there were 10 options. And the instructions were, you had to choose. You had to put the 10 options on a list in the order you wanted to do them. But you had to put all 10. So I'm glancing down the list and there's like cookery. I thought, you must be kidding. One, this totally got me. I'm like, no. Interpretive dance. I thought, I am 16 years old and I am an adult and I am not doing interpretive dance. So obviously I'm sat there with my mates and my mates are saying, well, put it down as number 10. And I thought, no way. Because these people just want to mind trip you. If I put it down as number 10, I'll be doing it next week. I could guarantee it. So I looked at the list. 1 was computing, so obviously that was number 1. 1 was media something, so I put that down as number 2. I can't remember what I put down as number 3. And that was it. I only put 3 things on there. And my idea was, if I only put 3, you can't possibly send me a 2 interpretive dance, because I will sue the backside off you. So I got this note back saying, you're on the news session. So I did the news session. And when it came to the second one, I got computers. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. When it came to the third one, it was like, oh, well, you put down whatever I put down. I can't even remember. We haven't got places on that, so you'll have to do this one. I think it was some kind of weird psychology. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I went to the organiser and I said, can I do the computer one? And she said, you'll have to ask the tutor if he'll let you do it. And if he will, then yes. So I went to the tutor and I said, I know I did this last option. I said, but can I do it again? Because I really enjoyed it. And he went, you'll have to see the organiser. And if she says yes, you can do it. And I went, right. So I disappeared, went for a comfort break, came back and said, yes, she said it's fine. Well, if they couldn't make their mind up between them, so I ended up doing computers twice. I was very, very happy with that. And the interpretive dance, never touched it since. Thankfully. Me, interpretive dance. I mean, Mike's just wetting himself thinking about it. What's going on here?
Jammy's talking about Squeaky Chicken.
Yeah.
And I can tell you about Squeaky Chicken.
She's not ripped him.
No. No, this morning I was having my breakfast, my muesli and yoghurt.
That's not breakfast, it's birdseed, but carry on.
And when I've sort of finished, when the bowl's empty, because obviously she can hear, there's like a hollow tap, isn't there, as spoon hits bowl.
Yeah.
Rather than spoon hitting food. So she knows that that's when I've almost finished. So she goes over to a toy pile and she picks Squeaky Chicken up to take it outside. I said, you're not taking Squeaky Chicken in the garden at 6:30 in the morning. So we took a quiet toy out instead.
Yeah, in the morning it has to be a quiet toy, doesn't it? Yeah. She's not happy today, actually, to follow up with Lola, is she? Because today is the 3rd of February. Every month on the 1st of the month, in my Things, which is my to-do app, it automatically comes up every 1st of the month, flea treatment. She doesn't want flea treatment. She doesn't want fleas either, but it's a close-run thing between the two. So we let her off on the 1st, didn't we? And the 2nd. But tonight, Mike can be devious. He didn't give her last treat, so she had to hang around. I then said close the door so she doesn't escape, and she was okay at that point. Until the pretty perfume came out, which was what I told her it was. But she gave me the eyeball. She knew it was a flea treatment. So we split a treat into 2, and she took the treat from me, because obviously I get to do that job. There's jobs that Mike does, and there's jobs that I do, isn't there? Like removing ticks from eyes. Don't ask. That was a hideous story. So I administered this, and then I gave her half a treat. She was that intent on escaping from us and our torment of her that she didn't even wait for the second half of the treat from you, did she?
No.
Poor Lola. Poor Lola. Oh, my word. Chicken has been around a while, hasn't he? There was first chicken. This must be 3rd or 4th chicken now. Right, Joe. The chicken and the gas man. Oh, we've got plenty of stories like that. Oh, it's crazy living here. It is crazy. Don't just put a flea collar on her. Oh, good grief, no. No, absolutely not, Tracy. We daren't do that. Sammy's fur around their neck, if you leave a collar on them, it wears away and they kind of look weird. Literally, the fur just wears away in like a patch, which I guess it does with other dogs. It just looks ridiculous on a Sammy. So she doesn't wear a collar other than when she's going out. There's a special collar, doesn't she, for when she's going out? She needs an air tag on it. But no, we've never done that. We've tried other stuff, but the one that works is called Frontline, which is obscenely expensive. But, you know, a lot of dogs had a lot of trouble, didn't they, when Maya was younger? And we never did. But this stuff's like £30 for about 6 months, which isn't bad over 6 months. But, you know, you can get stuff that's like £3.50. And I think that's what people were using. And then they were wondering why the dogs had fleas. But she's fine. She just doesn't like it. But she got an extra treat, so she can't argue. A chewable flea treatment. Didn't even know they did those. Didn't know they did chewable flea treatments. Worming tablets, yes. But she's okay with that because we can bury that in cheese. And she's that intent, just like Maya, on getting her teeth on the cheese. She doesn't really check it for anything, that it's a delivery mechanism for anything more nefarious. Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Yeah, we've always used Frontline. It's always been pretty good. I can't remember what the worming stuff is. But then she's spoiled rotten with everything. So if she has to endure that once a month, she'd like fleas even less. That's what we tell her, but she just gives us the eye. Which we're going to see from Peter's dogs. Peter's dogs are going to shame me into work, aren't they, Mike? Absolutely shame me. It'll be great. Right, okay then. Oh, Patience is saying the chewable are amazing. I'll have to try this. Although I know Lola. She's devious. She's devious. She'd spit it out behind your back. Do you remember Maya doing that with a white pill?
Yeah.
We gave him this pill, and it looked like he swallowed it. And he was chomping away, and I opened his mouth and I had a look, and I said, "Good boy, good boy." He went out. He got about 10 yards, and Mike just glanced and noticed he'd spat the pill out, and it was like stuck to some of his fur near his front leg. How he had hidden it, I do not know. But after that, we blowpiped him. He was nifty with the blowpipe, though, as well, wasn't he? Somehow he knew, as I had this pipe with the pill in, and I'm about to administer it, that if he blew back, it went the other way. Don't ask. It was... It took some time, but we got there in the end, didn't we? Oh, and when I was giving him his medication, which he wouldn't take from anybody else, that was my job. It was amoxicillin, which is of the penicillin family. I am allergic, and when I say allergic, deathly allergic. I had to wear rubber gloves to give him this stuff. So, of course, every time he saw me in rubber gloves, even if I was doing something different, he assumed it was pill time. And the vet was like, well, if you put the rubber gloves on at other occasions, he won't think that. I thought, the dog's brighter than you are. Just sit there in rubber gloves. You'd be arrested, wouldn't you? We're back to the Illustrator splash screen that Jamie also missed. Oh, dear me. Right, we are going to head off. Thank you for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed it. And we will be back very soon. But for the moment, it's good night from me.
And good night from me.
We will see you next time. Stay safe, guys.